Gino, the more I think about it, when you're an employee and you're told when you can or cannot take vacation, does that rub you the wrong way? For years in our industry, it was severely frowned upon if you took time off during a ratings period. This is an important ratings period. You can't take vacation. And you oblige, you do it. You do what your employer is asking you to do. You might not like it, but you do it. And then, if those restrictions get lifted off, and then, or if somebody does take a vacation during a restricted period, then now you've got a precedent. Well, if that person can do it, why can't I do it? What's up with that? And I bring it up because this is what we're dealing with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. And it's really the storyline to come out of the NFL's mandatory minicamps league-wide. It just shines a light on dysfunction.
I think, Danger, the storyline isn't really, surface level is Aaron Rodgers isn't there. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's June. Surface level, yes. Bigger picture, Robert Saleh isn't a good manager. The Jets aren't good upstairs in the front office. This was a situation you could have managed way in advance. So to me, pardon the language here, it just feels like a pissing match between the quarterback and the head coach, or maybe the GM upstairs, because I'll give you an example. And I hear what you're saying on that. I had a friend, he worked at Market View Liquor, good sponsor of our show.
Yeah.
And he always used to joke, hey, once November hits, I am working nonstop. You don't take time off in that business. If you're in the beer business, where you don't take the time off. And we're not talking about football season. In this analogy, football season, you don't take time off. So we're talking about something in the off season that the players really enjoy their time off. Although there's a couple times in the off season where you got to say, hey, this is actually a time where we actually need you, and it's been on the calendar. I think if you haven't heard, Coward reported that Aaron Rodgers is on vacation in Europe. That's why he's not.
Oh, that's the special event that was very important to him that Robert Saleh discussed yesterday. Robert Saleh's words yesterday. He's a very special event. It's an event that's very important. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist. He wasn't being 100% factual or honest with the media. By the way, the hard-hitting New York media that never once asked Saleh where Rodgers is. Can you just ask? Where is he? Do you know where he is? He's in an event that's very special. What event? Where? Oh, now we find out he's on vacation in Europe.
There is no hard-hitting New York media. That is a myth. The back pages are snarky, but the reporters there are docile. Yeah. They really are.
Well, this is another thing that I remember about being kind of restricted as to when you can take your time or when you have to be, when it's mandatory for you to be at work. You can find ways around that, like the example I was sharing before where they used to frown upon us taking time off during the ratings period, which limited the amount of time you could use for vacation. If you have a lot of vacation time and you're restricted to take it for this period of time and this period of time, well, then it gets condensed into a shorter amount of time. I ended up taking up like most of the month of December off because I've got vacation time that doesn't roll over. I've got to use it. I'm going to use it at a time when I'm allowed to use it. And nobody can really tell you how to use your vacation time except during a time that's mandatory. This is an unexcused absence. Aaron Rodgers is going to be fined, but the Jets supposedly knew about this long in advance. They leaked out a little explanation to the New York media. I'll read it to you, Gino. Okay. Aaron Rodgers planned this trip when he was still rehabbing. The Jets have known about it from the moment there was an overlap with the release of the minicamp schedule. Rodgers is, quote, unexcused because you can't excuse a trip, but not a contract dispute, Hassan Reddick. Semantics, but there is no unrest inside the building. The Jets Don't think it's a big deal. Not sure why the world is reacting differently.
Oh, my God.
Rodgers missing these 2 days after being at every voluntary workout the last 2 years will have zero impact on what the Jets/Rodgers accomplish this coming season. That's from inside the Jets organization.
Okay, what do you think Garrett Wilson is thinking right now, or Sauce Gardner, or anybody else that's busting their tail here in June? You don't think they would like to be in Cabo or somewhere? Are you kidding?
In Europe.
Or Europe, wherever?
Yeah.
This is mismanagement. All they had to do from the get-go is say, and I guess maybe by letter of the CBA, but you didn't have to say that to the media. That was unexcused. So that was mistake number one. Mistake number two, whether he realizes it or not, let me think. Do you think that? No, Robert Saleh doesn't realize this is going to happen. You are dividing Aaron Rodgers against this locker room. Brett Favre, when he was a Jet or a Viking and for the Packers all that years, all the stories you would read, players loved him. You are dividing a wedge. It is a big wedge right now between quarterback and the leaders of this team. The quarterback who said, hey, we're going to do anything, and anything that's not football related has to get out of this locker room. And there you are running off to football. So, again, comes back to Robert Saleh. How do you manage it? Well, Gene, do you have a solution? Yeah, I do. If I'm Robert Saleh, here's how I would manage it. And I would wait until the next time you're all together. But, gentlemen, welcome to camp. Here it is. Here are the rules for camp, And this is Mr. Rodgers. Let me introduce you to Mr. Rodgers. You may be familiar. He has 1 Super Bowl title. He has how many ever MVPs. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Hello, neighbor.
And Mr. Rodgers has his own set of rules where he can go over to Europe and he can leave at any time. So if you are upset that Mr. Rodgers has a different set of rules, then I would suggest, I'd even encourage you to go and talk to Mr. Rodgers. The locker room should be the place that polices this stuff.
I think that by doing that, if you're Robert Saleh, now you've driven a wedge between you and your franchise quarterback, because Mr. Rodgers doesn't want the ire of the rest of the locker room knowing that he has special privileges that they all want.
Oh, well, then Mr. Rodgers is oblivious because this has already happened.
Right, but what needs to happen is just an honest and direct dialogue. Now, if you say that Aaron Rodgers informed the team of this while he was rehabbing, knew that this was a trip he was going to make, and knew that it was going to conflict with mandatory minicamp, the simple solution for me, if I'm the Jets, is all right, we'll move minicamp up to the week earlier. We'll make it a week earlier. Why wouldn't they do what a lot of teams did and just have minicamp last week if he was available? I know that dysfunctional teams just do dysfunctional things. It doesn't make any sense. And it probably doesn't matter in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things. But, yeah, there are probably players, veteran players, that are there that are thinking to themselves, it'd be nice if our quarterback was here. Oh, I'd like to be in Europe instead of working right now. That would be fun. There is some resentment. There has to be some resentment. It's human nature that there would be some resentment there.
I found it hilarious, too, that Connor Hughes, SNY, reported, like, okay, well, why aren't the Jets telling you where Aaron Rodgers is? Why can't anybody? Security reasons. Security? What is he, at the G7? What are we talking about here? Jeez. Come on, security reasons. He's on the beach or he's at some concert.
Service.
Are you kidding?
Doesn't want anybody coming up to him is the security. Yeah, that's insane. And that's the guy, by the way, that the Jets like to leak things to. Like, this is the guy that they can get their word out how they want it. And that's probably the thing that drives Saleh crazy, is that there is somebody that we've all identified as the guy that gets all the Jets inside information. Saleh's got to be out of his mind about that. Like, I don't want any of this getting out publicly. I don't want to talk about any of this. I just want to coach football. That's what I do. I don't care about the media. I'm a football coach. But I think you hit the nail on something. I mean, like, you have to be a manager of people. You got to be more than just a football coach. You got to be the face of the franchise. You've got to be the first line of defense. And we saw this firsthand last year with the way McDermott handled Diggs. And it's funny, you mentioned Mr. Rodgers and the rest of the team. You said the same thing about Stephon Diggs.
Did I?
Yeah, you've said this before. And it was, 14 gets a different set of rules than everybody else. 14 can do what he wants. And never got to that with Steph Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. But we saw how mismanagement of your messaging at a time of year when there really shouldn't be anything to talk about, can give us a lot to talk about. It happened last year with Sean McDermott and Stephon Diggs, and it's happening this season with the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. We welcome you into the Sports Bar. We're glad you're listening along. Danger here, Battaglia there. Thanks for tuning us in at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app where we sound our best. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And look at this. The video stream is back. We've got the stream up in our brand new digs, our new studios. You can watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We're also on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester, and we've got a fun afternoon planned for you here in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, so coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, Dan Fate's 13 Wham, as today being day 2 of Buffalo Bills minicamp, players coming off the field. We'll get the thoughts. Dan was texting back and forth, by the way, today with Matt Perino, and Matt said, he gave me the eyeball emoji, Kyer Elam with another interception.
Yeah.
All right, so good. I mean, if you're not performing well at this time of year, and you have something to prove, I'd really be kind of concerned. But we'll talk to Dan Fates about all these battles as we look ahead to training camp. And I haven't heard yet officially. Did they call off tomorrow yet or not?
I haven't seen anything official on that yet.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Dan here. He's coming back from Buffalo in the 4 o'clock hour.
Now, I got some answers on what is going on tonight in New England. Yesterday we were talking about how Fitzy from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WEEI, will be stopping by here this afternoon, right around 3:25. Fitzy joins us. I was curious, this is the Tom Brady celebration for the Patriots, and they're not doing it during the season, likely because Tom Brady's got a job now, and it's a conflict of interest, and he probably wouldn't be able to get away, and all of that. So I was just curious, Fitzy's hosting the red carpet event. I'm like, red carpet event? What are we talking about here? There were some images floating around this afternoon, so you get a sense of what this is going to look like. The backdrop is essentially the scoreboard. They've got tables set up on the field. It's a big event on the field. I don't know how many fans are allowed in the actual stands, but it does have this. There's a big stage. It does have this kind of big, not concert presentation to it, but it does have kind of that bigger feel than what you would get from just a ceremonial halftime banner raising or jersey retirement.
Yeah, I would think, how do they shoot this? It has to be like the Hall of Fame, where you have a stage, and then maybe do they have folding chairs then and everything?
Tables. They have actual tables set up on the field, from what I saw, from the images I saw.
So is this everybody just throwing them back tonight? There are fans there because Fitzy, his first assignment, he's trolling the parking lot. People are tailgating today as if it's a Patriot game day.
Okay. So the Tom Brady, it's not the roast. This is actually the celebration of Tom Brady in New England. And we'll ask Fitzy about, any tension that might be there between Kraft and Belichick, who I believe both will be there tonight, correct?
I would think you would have. So, they're just, I would think everybody's taking the high road tonight, or maybe not.
And then there's the question of scheduling this on the same night as Game 3 of the NBA Finals, where the Celtics look to take a 3-0 chokehold lead over the Dallas Mavericks. Fitzy will stop by the Sports Bar here in about 10 minutes. You can pull up a stool and join us anytime this afternoon. 585-866-4FAN is our number. 866-4326.
Still waiting to hear, by the way, what is going on with Garrett Cole and the Rochester Red Wings. The Yankees, top affiliate Scranton, still in town. They're playing right now. That would be Friday night, but Aaron Boone last night saying he wasn't sure, which is kind of a lie, whether Cole will be pitching in AA or AAA on Friday night. So Garrett Cole is getting a rehab start Friday night. We just don't know if it's going to be Binghamton or here, for that matter.
Okay. So the potential for a fairly significant sporting event in our town is still up in the air. We should know more as the week progresses here, and we're hoping that
Wednesday. You want to set. What are they waiting for? I'm guessing the forecast, because it looks like there's going to be. I can't imagine it being that different between Rochester and Binghamton. But if you get one of those days where it's raining in the late afternoon, and do you really want to put out a pitcher there, maybe that's just kind of rehabbing if it's going to be kind of cold and raw? Should be a little warmer, too, I would think. But
it's going to be warmer. Well, I mean, then there's the idea that do the Yankees even – the Yankees may never lose a game again. I mean, they just look – they look dominant. They look dominant again last night, handling Kansas City in Kansas City. So we'll keep tabs on Garrett Cole and whether or not he's pitching here in the Flower City come Friday night. We'll obviously keep you posted on that. We should also mention that tomorrow, James Wood's stopping by the sports bar.
Yeah, how exciting is that? Now, he's rehabbing, and he's going to be taking batting practice tomorrow. So tomorrow is back to an evening game. So we're going to talk to, I think we can say the future Washington National.
Feels safe.
Yeah, I think so. And like, how long is he going to be in Rochester? I put this out there to anybody. Anybody wants to write in at the Fan Rochester. I'm kind of locked down on my side here of the screen, Danger, but Danger can read your tweet here. Like, this is the biggest name for the Red Wings to come through since, I don't know, like Mauer kind of skipped over Justin Morneau. I'm trying to think, like, who would be that Rochester Red Wing? Like James Wood. My expectation, he could be an MVP in the National League.
You know, that's funny. Yeah, I think you do have to go back to the infancy of the team's alignment with the Minnesota Twins, and you look at Morneau and Mauer as two guys that played in Rochester that had really significant careers with the Minnesota Twins for a lengthy amount of time. Wood could be that next in line. We haven't had somebody like that in quite some time, I don't think. I mean, Buxton was here for a cup of coffee, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came up and down, but I wouldn't put him in that category. He's a good player, but
he's not Morneau. He's not.
No, Morneau was.
Mauer was fantastic.
Mauer was a 3-time MVP, I want to say. Morneau won an MVP too in the American League, and then his career ended short with concussions. I'd have to go back to Morneau, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, but Wood is that good. He is that good. He's one. How often do you get a player like, hey, I got to go see this guy before he gets called up?
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun talking to him tomorrow afternoon. At the Fan Rochester, at AKA Mike Danger, at Gene Battaglia, our handles on X. One of our regulars, Chris, in South Central Kentucky. Hot uniform talk today in the sports bar. Oh, yeah. Gene, this one hits close to home. As a youth hockey player, there were two colors that this guy wore every year. Green and yellow.
It's gold, dude.
That's yellow.
That's yellow.
That's yellow. No, you know what gold looks like. Gold is what Notre Dame has. Gold is what New Orleans has. Yellow is what the Pittsburgh Steelers have. And the Minnesota Wild. Going back to the green and yellow of the Minnesota North Star days.
So this was always like in their mix of uniforms, right? You're saying that they're going to go back to this full time now?
It was their reverse retro jersey that they wore. And now they're going to make a permanent switch and make those their full-time unis.
What is old is new again. Is that like who's next when it comes to this sort of stuff? Are the Astros going to go back to their uniforms? Like, it's funny. Now, of course, I missed the North Star logo, but these uniforms, they look like the Minnesota North Stars.
It's the same logo of the Minnesota Wild. It's just the colors of the Minnesota North Stars.
See, they can do this in hockey. And I don't see Dallas saying you can't do that. Like, why do the Tennessee Titans, why are they fighting tooth and nail? Like, you can't lend the Houston Oilers back to the Houston Texans? Those colors?
Well, the Houston Texans feel like their own organization. They don't feel like the old Houston Oilers. The Titans feel... Still, when I look at the Titans logo, I still see the Houston Oilers.
That's fair.
I just think that what the Stars did, and actually this happened before they moved to Dallas. I mean, the logo changed from that N with the star on it to what is a closer version of what they have now with the Stars, and they changed their color scheme. But this is a throwback to when I was a kid. I mean, I'm seeing Mike Modano, I'm seeing Dino Ciccarelli in these unis. So thanks for the tip there from Chris. A little hot uniform talk in the sports bar as the Minnesota Wild are going back to the original retro colors of the Minnesota North Stars. That green, and that's not gold. That's yellow. Gee, that's yellow. Fitzy Stevens. Fitzy joins us next from WEEI in Boston. We've got a little peek behind the curtain of what's going on there for the Tom Brady celebration happening at Gillette. That's next on the Fan Rochester.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, we go to Foxborough. Celebration of Tom Brady is happening tonight at Gillette. We go to our guy Fitzy from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WEEI, in Boston, who's our ears and eyes on the scene. And Fitzy, is it true this is being treated like almost like a game day? You've got some tailgating going on, and then you've got the added element, the elegance of a red carpet for the guests that are in attendance. Set a scene, man. Let us know what this is all about.
Oh, gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be back on with you guys here as we celebrate the 6-time Super Bowl champion. Next week we're going to have the 4-time runner-up celebration night for the Bills. But can you tell already the air of entitlement, the superiority, the arrogance is back.
Oh, you can have it. You can have it for tonight. You can have it for tonight. We won't talk about where the odds are for the Patriots to finish this season and how they dipped below Carolina. But we can have it. We'll allow it for one night.
Yeah, for one night, we don't have to worry about ESPN already mocking us as having the first overall draft pick in 2025, which is just great. I mean, there's a giant currently right now on the stage in the end zone opposite the world's largest pretend lighthouse and Jumbotron. There's a stage with a giant 12 draped on it, which is, of course, cloaking all the super secret guest presentations, performers, and more tonight. And you stare at it and you go like, is that the number of the guy we're here to honor tonight or the number of losses we'll have by week 14? I can't figure it out. But it's wild. Like, I'm out here in the lots right now, and it's a classic New England tailgate. I know in Buffalo, we're doing garbage plates. Pinto Ron is pouring shots from bowling balls, and we're eating pizza from a filing cabinet. Out here, it is just classic. Out-of-shape people, rugged beards, chubby triceps, steak tips, chicken wings marinated in Italian salad dressing, Bud Lights flowing freely like manna from heaven, Crazy Train from Ozzy Osbourne from every other Bluetooth speaker. It's great. It feels like it's the 2010s again, except I don't have fewer wrinkles in my face and I'm not 30 pounds lighter.
Is this free tonight? Is this something that, and if so, like how many people are you actually expecting tonight here?
Guys, we are celebrating the living legend, the man who taught us never give up, never surrender, never count out touchdown Tom. Tom Brady is single-handedly the reason why not a single Viagra prescription was written in New England for 20 years. All you had to do was watch him throw a touchdown to Gronk, and it was 6 to midnight. Yeah, this is a big deal. We have 60,000 people in the stadium, VIPs, very important patriots, as well as celebrities and A-listers galore gathered. We have a number of musical performances that'll knock your socks off. And if you so choose, if you want to hate watch it or shame watch it as opposed to watching the Celtics go up 3-0 on the Mavericks, you can just go to any of the Patriots socials or Patriots.com. And yours truly right here on the telephone right now on the hotline, I'll be one of the pre-show MCs from 5:30 to 7 on Patriots.com.
Fitzy, what about that? The scheduling this on the same night as Game 3. I mean, did we not have the foresight to know that Boston could be competing in the NBA Finals?
Well, this was planned last August. Hey, guys, how are you doing? Go Pats. Sorry, I was just saying hi to some friends. Earlier, if you had called me 5 minutes earlier, I was yelling at somebody in the plaza on the way into the stadium because they wore a Tampa Brady 12 jersey. No. I was like, folks, did you not get the memo? Did we not? I mean, gross, right? Disgusting. So anyway, so they scheduled this back last August, and, you know, it should have been more like, hey, Adam Silver and everyone at the NBA, you guys should have moved Game 3 of the NBA Finals with the 17 days in between each game. Tom Brady moves for no man, except Bernard Pollard when he comes at his knees.
Fitzy, our guy, WEI, on the red carpet. What are the red carpet do's and don'ts? Is this is the first time I would assume you've hosted a red carpet event, is it not?
No, I've done a couple of red carpets before. At Super Bowl 50, I was actually at the Playboy party, which was interesting. Had a chance to talk to some celebs out there that weekend. Guy Fieri, who I think should be in attendance tonight. But the do's and don'ts of this particular red carpet, like, do make sure you keep it family-friendly, even if you became a household name around here by swearing about Tom Brady and professing your love for him in an NC-17-related capacity. Don't bring up, hey, Tom, where's Giselle?
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, do bring up the fact that he leads the NFL in every possible passing category ever. don't bring up the fact that he lost 2 Super Bowls to Peyton's booger-eating brother Eli. Just basic rules, do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Fitzy, what about the relationship between Kraft and Belichick? I assume both will be in attendance tonight. Or is there anything to the rumors that relationship has gone icy?
It's not full doomsday glacier melting, but it's a work in progress. It's seen better times, and understandably so, because this is what happens when you get 2 under 5'7" superpowered human beings in the same room together for so long. That matter can only contain itself before it becomes explosive. I mean, you guys saw at the roast of Tom Brady on Netflix how as soon as Robert Kraft was like, and it's time for a shot with the greatest coach of all time, Belichick was like, yeah, I'd rather hug Hillary Clinton, and wouldn't even do the shot with him at that point. And then Gronk spiked the shot glass, and did you know after Gronk did that, shards of crystal went into someone's eye, and they had to go to the hospital.
Is that true?
No, that's honest to God true, yeah.
Wow.
But you know what? It's Gronk. He's soy fiesta. He's from up your way, so we all love him. Belichick will, in fact, be here tonight. And as I've been saying on the radio on WEEI for the longest time, expect the biggest ovation tonight, not to be for any of the secret musical performers or even the man we have gathered for. Belichick will finally get the long-standing ovation his curmudgeonly, non-person-loving, brilliant coaching self deserves, which I'm excited for.
All right.
Last time we saw him here, it was January, and he lost to Zach Wilson 17-3 in a snowstorm.
You could have knocked me over with a feather, Fitzy, that he didn't get another job. Do we see Bill Belichick on an NFL sideline again?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, Bill Belichick, who's having it better than Bill Belichick? With all due respect to the Harbaugh brothers who always say, who's got it better than us? Nobody. I think Bill Belichick has it the best. He's popping on McAfee, getting paid out of Domton Hammer's pocket to do the McAfee show. He's going to be on the Manning cast. He's writing a book. He's jet-setting all around the world. He crushed at the roast. He's going to get a standing ovation tonight. You never know if you're going to see him popping out of a cheerleader's bedroom at 6:30 in the morning because he's just living his wildest life. God bless Belichick. He's all of our spirit animals right now, boys.
Well, Fitzy, that's why I think he doesn't return to an NFL. Why would you return to an NFL sideline when you're living that kind of life? And by the way, doing really well at everything that he's doing.
But here's what's going to happen. The Cowboys are going to absolutely stink out loud. I mean, like raccoons will look at the Cowboys pile of trash and go like, hard pass, even though I'm starving, bro. Thanks. And you know what? Jerry's going to finally go, well, all right, son number 7, get on the phone and call Belichick. Let's make it happen. And then they're going to dig in, and Belichick will be down there, and he will coach the Cowboys back to relevance, and he will, what happened? He'll probably end up playing, the Cowboys will play the Patriots, and then Belichick will be going for the all-time win record against the Patriots sometime in the future. Like, come on, there's AI and algorithms already at work at Roger Goodell's evil empire lair at 345 Park Avenue, planning all of this out. It's all part of the Matrix, boys. So that's my prediction. I'm putting it down right now on Brady Day. Belichick, new coach of the Cowboys by mid to late season.
Yeah, Fitzy, a few more questions for Fitzy, who's out in the parking lot. He'll be hosting the Red Carpet, which you can watch on Patriots.com, coming up beginning at 5:30. Tom Brady, the commentator on Fox. Some people don't think this is going to work. Other things think this is going to be great. Where do you come down on Tom Brady now on the number 1 role here?
Brady as a commentator? I think he's going to be great. Tom Brady doesn't do anything half-assed. Tom Brady is a full commit to everything he does. Now, is he ready right now? No, but he's been working with local guys like Scott Zolak, who's on the radio here and does play-by-play. He's been, working with Burkhardt and digging deep on all this. If we can get the Brady that showed up at the roast, the Brady that, does his daily broadcasting from WDGAF because I'm Tom Brady, we're going to get some really good insight and we're going to get some must-see TV on a regular basis. If he plays it the same way he used to every post-game interview during the Belichick era, then it's going to be like NPR, but with a football and a $5,000 Italian suit.
Fitzy, any word out of Patriots minicamp? What's your scouting report on these practices in shorts, and how's Drake May looked so far this offseason?
Drake May is going to give Jacoby Brissett, not to say that this is the hardest thing in the world to do it, in a lot of ways it's probably like dunking on an 11-year-old in the driveway, but he's going to give Jacoby Brissett a run for his money to be the starter come week 1. My guess is Drake May doesn't start until, let's say, after the London game because they have an absolute gauntlet of a first 4 games, and things are going to be, tough for the hard charge and hard luck Patriots. But he looks the part, man. He's, 6'3", 230, moves well, got a cannon for an arm, got $1 million country fried smile, and he's just like with the Gronk brothers, where there were 5 of those behemoths. My God, they must have had a dairy cow in the backyard. He's the smallest of all the May brothers as well. He's built to succeed. It's just going to take some time to kick the aw shucks and the scramble backyard, Favre-style plays out of the system and get him tuned into whatever the hell Alex Van Pelt. And you guys are big fans of AVP. We'll get him together in time. The star of camp thus far, though, has been this kid Javon Baker, the wide receiver out of University of Central Florida. I fell in love with him months ago when someone told me that he may be like the next Puka Nacua. Not exactly like him, a carbon copy, but like a steal of a wide receiver that people are going to say, like, how the hell did we let Baker fall all the way to the 4th round into New England? He's big. He's got a diva-like attitude. He goes up for balls. He's the guy who famously said at his media avail, get your popcorn ready. I make people in wheelchairs stand up. So, we've needed a little, we've been missing star power, bad attitudes, making the headlines for everything, except for, wow, Mac Jones, only 7 interceptions today. We'll be back. So we're looking forward to somebody who can just, keep defensive coordinators and opposing coaches and not the actual fans themselves up at night with agita.
Fitzy, Celtics, do they win this series in 4, 5, or 6 games?
Celtics in 5. The old gentleman's sweep. I say they win tonight in a stunner. Zinger is more of a decoy tonight. It's a big Jason Tatum night tonight. I'm predicting 41 for Tatum tonight in a shootout with Luka. Epic for the ages as we go from Brady night right into Game 3. They drop Game 4, bring it home so they can win Game 5. And the transfer of power from the Brady era to the new golden age of Boston sports with Tatum, Brown, and company begins. And I know you guys are side-eyeing and stink-eyeing me from all the way in the greater Rochester area right now, and I have to tell you, I kind of love it.
We're not. No, I agree with what you're saying about the Celtics there. I mean, here's the thing. One of our guys is on the court now with right there behind right
Jeff
behind
Van Gundy.
Yeah, right.
Rochester native.
Right behind Missoula. Jeff Van Gundy is waiting in the wings should it not go well with Missoula some point down the road.
Boy, Missoula is a real piece of work. Jeff Van Gundy, have you ever loved somebody who could either be your mother's accountant or like that uncle that always double dips at a Thanksgiving buffet more than Jeff Van Gundy? God, I love that. He's such a curmudgeon. I love him. What a cranky old crab apple. But he loves basketball. I fell in love with him when he latched on like a windshield koala to Alonzo Mourning in the playoffs 25 years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely. Fitzy, it's great having you on. Let's do it again soon. Have a great time tonight. We'll be following along all the festivities there at Gillette, man. Thanks for the time.
Holler at me anytime, you guys. Long live Brady, and I look forward to you guys only beating us by 30 twice this fall. Take care. Go Pats.
Thanks, Fitzy.
We'll get Fitzy on before the Bills beat them by 30 later on in the regular
season. Yeah, we got to wait till December for that. It's a weird schedule. That's going to be really late in the season, although...
Maybe something happens between now and then.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Patriots start out 1-10. I think we're bringing that guy back. I mean, like, what was your favorite zinger there? Like, Tom Brady lost 2 Super Bowls to Peyton's booger-eating brother.
It's best. I mean, we don't get a lot of Fitzies on the sports bar. And honestly, like, if you ran into Fitzy at a tailgate, you probably wouldn't like that guy, especially if he's waving his Patriots flag as hard as he is. Mm-hmm. But how do you not love that guy? That guy's great. Fitzy's the best. Working the red carpet tonight amongst the elite, and 60,000 people expected for this thing.
Wow. Well, kind of project into the future, like when they didn't have 60,000 when Jim Kelly retired. I was there. They did it in the field house. They had a parade when Jim Kelly came to town. Wasn't there for that, but
I feel like that's going to pale in comparison to what we'll see tonight. Tonight will be a big deal for Patriots fans and for New England. So appreciate Fitzy giving us some of this time.
The more I thought about it, like, okay, why wouldn't they have done this at halftime? Why? Well, you can't do it with Tom Brady's schedule. Okay, why wouldn't you have done it at a preseason game? Nah, you know what?
This is bigger.
Yeah, this is bigger than any preseason game.
Yeah, this is bigger. It makes sense. Having Fitzy explain it the way he did makes more sense why they're doing it the way that they're doing it.
Guy Fieri might be there tonight. Hey.
What's this tailgate in New England doing serving up clam chowder out of their carburetor in their 76 Ford Mustang? Slaps. Out of control.
Was he saying that boastfully, or was he just not aware that we know wings here and that they were dipping their wings in Italian dressing?
Who was doing that?
That's what he said was going on the tailgate.
Oh,
Bud
no.
Light in a little, with their Italian dressing. No. Like, no.
The logo passed away. I hate this news.
Yeah.
Jerry West, legend, NBA logo. We'll get to that. We'll get to look. I see your tweets. I see you at the Fan Rochester. Everybody wants to know, Gene. Are we willing to bring him back in? I have thoughts. I have thoughts on Rory.
Who, him?
Yeah. I have
him.
thoughts on Rory, and I know you have thoughts on Joe Burrow.
Oh yeah, I do. Joe Burrow. That would, to me, like the quarterback, that there's some real concern there. And I know it's only June, but I'll explain why. If you're a Bengal fan, you actually should be very concerned that this season, maybe not this season, but this franchise is going in the wrong direction.
Pull up a stool and join us in the sports bar. 866-4326, our phone number, 585-866-4FAN.
One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, if you just missed Fitzy joining us from New England, from Foxborough, we'll get that up and on demand for you wherever you get your podcast. Just search out the Sports Bar. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Just search out the Sports Bar and you'll get all of our content there. Gino, I know you have strong thoughts on what's going on in Cincinnati, and you mentioned it a little bit yesterday. Some of the comments being made by Joe Burrow have to make you wonder how he's feeling.
I mean, if he himself is bringing up his football mortality, this is June. Everybody's supposed to be feeling great, and we're getting a lot of work in, blah, 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 blah. And that got a little dark. Now, before we even talk about the quote and where this is headed, let's just kind of review here the history of Joe Burrow. And this puts it into context. Dating back to college, okay? At Ohio State before LSU. 2017, a hand-wrist fracture. 2020, the national championship game. Hey, he won that game. Do you know he played that second half with torn rib cartilage? He still finished the game. His rookie season in the NFL. Remember this? Game at Washington. ACL tear, MCL tear, knee PCL tear, grade 3, a meniscus tear. That's 4 tears. He hit for the cycle on that. Comes back in 2021, dislocated pinky on his throwing hand. 2022, they beat the Raiders in the playoff game before they come to Buffalo. He played through that. Led his team to win over the Bills, and eventually they make the Super Bowl. In that Super Bowl, he suffers an MCL sprain. It was in the second half in the play where he was sacked by Von Miller. He was able to recover with off-season rest. Wouldn't have played the following week. Training camp last year. Remember this? Calf strain. Looked like an Achilles tear at first. That kept him out most of camp. And then we get to the torn wrist ligament in 2023 where he says he heard a pop. That is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And the one that's most concerning, and now in June, when the sun is bright, as we mentioned, and everyone in this league is optimistic, that you hear Joe Burrow talk about his football mortality. I'm not taking this out of context. It's on his mind. He said that. And I'm just hoping that the wrist injury doesn't make us wonder, man, what happened to Joe Burrow?
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for football. You look at that list of injuries, and you could just kind of say, all right, he's got this MCL sprain. He didn't get that repaired. Maybe that led to the calf strain because he's overcompensating because of the MCL. You have all of these bumps and bruises and strains and tears and, surgically reconstructed knees or whatever he's got going on. Now his wrist, it all, is connected. And if you have a wrist injury, you might overcompensate by putting more shoulder into your throw. Now your shoulder's messed up. This guy's being held together with paper clips and bubble gum. He's tough. We know he's tough, but he's got to be feeling it. And I just want to see him throw a football. We haven't seen him do that at minicamp. We haven't seen him do that. We don't know what that looks like. Does he have the same velocity? Does he have the same zip? Does he have the same mobility? Is he just beat up? Has he just taken too much of a pounding through his football career? Not just at Cincinnati, but in college as well. I would hate it if his career was cut short due to injury.
I'll have to research the list of injuries that Andrew Luck went through. You remember he missed a whole year, but that was as shocking as anything. Wait a second, he's walking away. Oh, he'll come back. No, he never came back.
Yeah, he wanted the quality of life after his football playing days were done. And you have to wonder if Joe Burrow, in making a comment like worrying about his football mortality, if he's thinking, what's my life going to be like when I'm done playing football, when I'm done beating the hell out of myself? Am I going to be able to enjoy a quality of life?
This is a much bigger story, by the way, than Aaron Rodgers being in Europe. But that's more salacious.
Yeah.
And that's more about mismanagement.
Yeah.
This is, holy cow, one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. Could we see a premature end? And it's Andrew Luck being the top example that comes to my mind. RG3, his first year was fantastic, and then Shanahan ruined him, put him in that playoff game.
I see your tweets. Josh, one of our regulars, UPS driver Josh, last night, Bill, asking the question straight up. Hey, Danger, Rory and Erica have kissed and made up. You're readopting him as our native son. Now, initially, my response to Bill was, I need sources. I don't know that I believe this right away. And of course, it was everywhere last night by the time Bill had tweeted me. The answer to your question, Bill, I will not. I will not. And if you believe what's been reported, Rory, he had himself a little extramarital affair. It's not uncommon. It happens a lot in our society. In this instance, exposing the truth of that extramarital affair likely would have cost him millions, as well as the career of Amanda Balionis. Her credibility may already be shot. There's also word of the prenup that was set to be enforced had the split gone through, which could have left our Erica and Poppy with less than they were likely entitled to. For the sake of their child and her future, this is news that has to make you happy. For the sake of their relationship, I hope they can make it work. I'll share a story, personal story. When I lived in Minnesota before I moved to Rochester as a young adult, I once cheated on a girlfriend and I got busted. The guilt and the shame that I felt was immense. I had a lot less on the line than one of the best pro golfers in the world. That, coupled with a woman who will never forget, that should be enough of a punishment for Rory. To answer your question, no, we will not readopt him.
No, it's not. He is not Rochester. Erica, yes. Erica is forever. Look, we had some fun with this. It's obviously kind of a sad situation. Happy that they're reconciling, whatever. A lot of thoughts here. Let me start with Balionis. What Amanda Balionis did or didn't do is what every female reporter has to fight, if not on a daily basis, quite frequently. Just the stereotypes that go with this business. That, no, she's there to do a job, except for Balionis, that ended up not being the case, allegedly. So for Amanda Balionis, I don't think there's anything, there's no recovery. You're not going to take her reports seriously. If she's smiling for whatever reason at a golfer, I can't look at that. And in the sports bar, in my opinion, she remains Amanda the homewrecker. Okay, so like you should know. Hey, I don't want to be on Mount Pius, but ring on finger, maybe back off. Okay, that's kind of a basic rule there too.
She was married too.
Yes,
she's married too.
She's married too.
Ridiculous.
And the thing that cracks me up about all this, who set all this in motion? Who shined the light on this? Was it TMZ? No. Was it ESPN? Definitely not. It was Live Golf. It was a Live Golf Twitter account that all of a sudden started putting things out and more things, and then people started checking into it. So this is the message that's coming from Live. Don't F with us.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, not coincidentally, in my opinion, does Rory come back and say, hey, you know what? I probably regret some of the things I said, to each their own, basically. Yeah, okay, now you're backing down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing is kind of disgusting. It's a gross story. I am not willing to welcome Rory back in as our native son. He is not one of us. He is not like us, in the words of Kendrick Lamar.
Jim writing in. You can write to us at The Fan Rochester. That takes away a lot of your on-air material. No, we got our eyes on Rory. Like we're not. Forgive and forget. No, I don't subscribe to that. You can forgive somebody, but do you really forget?
She's never going to forget.
No, do you really forget? She's never going to forget. And thankfully, you and I are in marriages where this does. But I have friends that lots of people do. Like when you have an argument, a dispute,
it comes up.
Yep.
It's not healthy. It's not healthy to keep score in a relationship, and she's got one on him. She's got a chip she can play anytime she wants.
Were you on the air when you found out about that?
I was working in Minnesota. I was on the air. I got a call from the girl I was dating. I was with her for a couple of years. We were young, man. We were so young.
You were knucklehead.
I was a dumb young knucklehead. I'm like 18, 19 years old. I didn't know any better. And she was at a party with the girl that I cheated on with, and they got into it. She gave her eyes and basically said, yeah, well, your guy's with me. And she called me absolutely heartbroken, bawling her eyes out, embarrassed because she's at a party with the same girl. And And I had to deal with that. I had to apologize, and I felt horrible. I felt terrible for doing what I did. I felt shame. I felt guilt. Our relationship was never the same. It ended kind of shortly thereafter. So just knowing that she'll never forget, and if he's, I don't know, maybe he's not human and he doesn't have those emotions that I had, the shame and the guilt of doing that and getting caught doing that. Maybe he has that wiring that you can tell yourself that didn't happen. It never happened.
What, like the OJ?
You can
wiring?
shock yourself of just how much it didn't happen. There was never a tryst with the golf reporter. It never happened. It just never happened. You're making it up. It didn't happen. Like, it happened. You've just wired your brain to tell you that it hasn't happened. Maybe he has that. I don't. And I know how that felt. And I know that if Erica is, she's never going to forget. That's a pretty severe punishment for Rory in and of itself. So we're not accepting him back in. And I'm happy that they're back together for the sake of their kid. I think that's a positive. But he's going to have to face those consequences for the rest of his life. And your point about Liv is interesting. Like, if it is Liv kind of keeping tabs on the guys that are the most outspoken against the work that they're trying to do, where's this merger? What wasn't that supposed to happen? What's happening here? Oh, PGA doesn't want to now merge with Liv? What's going on? You got guys from Liv exposing the private lives of PGA golfers.
Well, I would think if Liv could expose Monahan and everything that's going on with the PGA Tour, because the PGA Tour, here's a not so secret. It's a racket. It really is, hiding behind this not-for-profit and everything. And not to get political or anything, but I'm just wondering, whoever's in office come next year, does that have much to do with this or not?
Man, I hope not, man. I just don't like it when politics and sports mix up and when you have to get the politicians involved.
Well, I think that if somebody wanted to investigate the PGA, they could. That's my point.
And you'll probably hear more about the NCAA as well and the college athletics and everything that's going on there. I'd like to keep the politicians focused on more important things, but that's just me. Let's take a break and come back. We're going to have Dan Fates stop by later on. Give us like 25 minutes or so. Fatesy will give us his report from Day 2 of Buffalo Bills mandatory minicamp. We'll get you caught up on all the latest headlines, including, as we mentioned earlier, the passing of Jerry West, great L.A. Laker, the logo, great executive for the L.A. Lakers for many, many years, architect of many championship teams, has passed away. We'll get to that as well as we'll talk a little Game 3 tonight in Dallas as well, with the Celtics looking to go up 3-0. That's all on the way. Stand by for Dan Fates and your calls. 866-4326-585, 866-4FAN.
950-9BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Kyrie Elam making an interception today when the highlights of Bills minicamp day 2. We'll get a full report from Dan Bates, 13 Wham, coming up later this hour. Tonight, it's Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Boston up 2-0 on Dallas back home. Here's Mavs head coach Jason Kidd.
Just focusing on Game 3. We felt there in Game 2 we had opportunities that we just let get away from us. And so for us at home, protecting home court, but the cliche is role players play better at home, so we'll see.
Rochester Red Wings today shut out 3-0 against Scranton. No word yet whether Yankee starter Garrett Cole on rehab will be pitching here in Rochester on Friday or down in AA. On the Major League scoreboard, Twins are up in the Rockies 10-5 in the 8th. Jays trailing in Milwaukee 5-1 in the 7th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're in the midst of minicamp now, as this is day 2.
Phase 2.
So we'll just kind of keep our eyes and ears on things.
I'm a big believer in wrestlers.
Really?
Mike Danger.
We probably won't have any major headlines or stories to come out of mandatory minicamp. That's the way he wants it, and that's the right way to go about it. Like, we don't want there to be another distraction, and the Bills don't want to deal with that distraction.
Gene Battaglia.
What would be like some of the bigger storylines for camp that maybe we haven't asked you yet? Whether that be the offensive line or whether that's, hey, who's going to be your strong safety and your free safety here? There's a lot of questions here that we're going to have to learn here in July.
Tom Brady, you're the real deal.
The NBA is not the NBA without Jerry West. Jerry is the logo of the league.
The finals are back on the floor tonight. Game 3 in Dallas.
Who do you think wins tonight? I think Boston does.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
I will take mahogany teakwood for the win. It's fantastic. That's an elite scent. If you get me a mahogany teakwood scented candle, I'll have that thing lit.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
We're back. Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. In our new digs, day 3 in our new digs, and that brings good news today. If you're a watcher of the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, on Twitch, the video stream is back up and moving. We get the lighting figured out in here. It's a little dim. It's mood lighting.
I like this better, but for the stream, I don't know if it works. But then again, dude, we're two old guys. We don't need to be under the bright lights here.
I think because we're two old guys, we need the lighting to be perfect. We need to be, we need to complement us old guys. We got some feedback from Greg, one of our regulars on X. The new studio suits you guys or sweets you guys? Sweets you guys? I don't know if he was meaning to say suits you guys. But,
suits you guys, I think he's saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's comfy. I mentioned yesterday, added benefit, during breaks, I can do wall squats. I can, get a little wall squat in, feel a little burn every time we go to break here in the new studio. We've got Dan Fates stopping by the Sports Bar here in about 15 minutes or so. He was at day 2 of the Buffalo Bills mandatory minicamp, a mandatory minicamp that, unlike last year, is going smoothly and without a ton of distraction. Can't say the same for the New York Jets.
Yeah, the Jets being the Jets, and they were not out in front of this story whatsoever. Like, it pays to have a good PR person. I think Derek Boyko for the Buffalo Bills, you don't hear his name because he's good at his job. Like, he helps puts out fires. Like, look how the whole LaShawn McCoy thing was kind of explosive, yet the Bills kind of marched right past it. So that would be my other question here is, who's heading up the Jets PR? Because, hey, it's mandatory minicamp. You know what? The of those words there that stick out to me, the word mandatory, okay? And you're a quarterback overseas. How do you handle this situation? You should have talked about this months ago. You should have had a game plan months ago. So is it a bad PR, or do you just have a head coach that is so pig-headed that he's just going to do it his way and he really doesn't care?
Well, if you ask Salah, and he was asked today if there's any, he's like, yeah, we're on the same page. Me and Rodgers are on the same page. There's no distraction. There's no ill will or anything like that. That's where I'm like, you maybe knew that this was happening as it was reported. So the guy from CNY is kind of like the guy that gets all the tips from New York Jets PR.
Connor Hughes.
And what he shared today from the New York Jets was that Aaron Rodgers, his tweet, Aaron Rodgers planned this trip when he was still rehabbing. The Jets have known about it from the moment there was an overlap with the release of the minicamp schedule. Rodgers is unexcused because you can't excuse a trip, but not a contract dispute like Hassan Reddick. Semantics, but there's no unrest inside the building. The Jets don't think it's a big deal. Not sure why the world is reacting differently. Rodgers missing these 2 days after being at every voluntary workout the last 2 years will have zero impact on what the Jets/Rodgers accomplish this coming season.
This guy lives in an alternate world. Like, okay, he was there at every... Dude, he was flying in on game day. Aaron Rodgers was not around the team when he was rehabbing, which is fine, but don't make him out to be St. Rodgers here. But in this whole scenario, this is just the employee here pushing the buttons, seeing what I can kind of get away with. You know who would like to be off this week? Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone would like to be on vacation. So here you have this conflict, finger quote here. What was so important? Oh, there's another thing they offer you too, Danger, when you go overseas. You've been overseas. I haven't. Hopefully someday I get overseas. But when I do, you know what I'll buy? Insurance. You can move things. You can move the flight. You can change your vacation. It happens quite frequently.
No, I'm not going to go that far, and I wouldn't do that. Gene, when you go overseas, don't buy insurance. You don't have to buy.
Okay, you are wealthy like Aaron Rodgers. He's a wealthy man.
No, but the thing that drives me crazy about this is if you knew about it and this was planned while he was still rehabbing, why didn't you just move minicamp? There were teams that had minicamp last week. You could have moved I mean, you're basically telling everybody, we don't think it's important that Aaron Rodgers is here at every practice.
My read on this is it's a pissing match between Rodgers and whoever in the Jets organization. That's what this is. Like, I'm not moving my vacation. I told you about this last year. The Jets, this is our schedule. You will be fine.
It's the baggage that they knew they were getting into when you married Aaron Rodgers. You have to bring in his guys. Hackett, Randall Cobb, Lazard. You brought in all his guys. You've given him everything that he's asked for, good or bad. And look, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, this may have zero impact on the season. But I got to tell you, there's probably people that are in that locker room that are like, well, if he can take vacation during mandatory minicamp, why can't I? Oh, maybe I'll get fined. Okay, fine. Garrett Wilson's taking notes right now. Breece Hall taking notes. Sauce Gardner. These guys are stars. They're good football players that are going to have long careers in the NFL, and they're taking notes. They're setting themselves up for hopefully a future where they can dictate terms on when they can take vacation instead of having the team do it to their employees.
People are saying, what does this matter? It's June. And I hear you on that. Like, Aaron Rodgers not being there, I don't think impacts the betting line whatsoever for week 1 in San Francisco or for any of the earlier games. The bigger picture here is this is an organization that I could point to this and countless other examples.
How they handled Zach Wilson.
The management.
Yeah.
The management here is lacking. Zach Wilson was, from the owner all the way down, from the owner wearing his bling to the GM to the head coach just pussyfooting around. Honestly, like, this is an organization that doesn't know how to manage people. Here would be my advice to any GM that's looking to hire a head coach. It doesn't matter if that coach is boisterous and calls a blitz on third down, or can scheme up things like a wizard. It matters how they handle and manage people. Like, you can get X and O guys everywhere. You should get good X and O guys for your coordinators. But it's laughable that this is a league that hasn't figured that out yet, that you have to go for the best offensive coordinator. You need the best manager of people. And Robert Saleh ain't it. I'm sorry.
Who do you think Rodgers reports to? Like, when Rodgers alerts the team, hey, I'm going to Europe, I'm taking a vacation. I'm going overseas, I'm taking a vacation. and these are the dates. Does that go to Sala?
No, I bet it's to his boy. I bet it's to Hackett.
Is it to Hackett? Is it to Sala? Is it to the owner? I mean, everybody's been involved in bringing in Aaron Rodgers. The owner has to know, like, hey, we're going to get this guy. We're excited to bring this guy in. I'm going to wear bling week 1 against the Buffalo Bills because that's how excited we are about the New York Jets, how cool we are now that we've got Aaron Rodgers, beat up old Aaron Rodgers coming in and being our new quarterback. Who does he report to? Like, who is holding Aaron Rodgers accountable? Nobody. There's nobody holding him accountable.
Boy, that's great, though. Like the life without a boss.
It's. I mentioned it last hour. I mean, like, the only thing I can equate to it is, in our industry, it was frowned upon if you took vacation during ratings periods. Can't take a vacation during an important ratings period. If you're in TV, you've heard the same thing that during sweeps, you've got your best content during sweeps.
I would think that there are a lot of professions that are like this, that you have a key time of year. And the part of this analogy, this isn't the key time of year.
Teachers.
My
right. God. I mean, like, I'm any industry that you want to think of, yes, you're probably right. There's probably a time it's like, no, we need you here this time of year. We need you here. We need you at your best. And the first time somebody breaks that and says, well, I can't. I've got to do it. This is on the books. You knew about this. I told you about this. Well, now you've set a precedent, and the next person is going to come in and be like, hey, I'm taking vacation too. And now it's just not the way you want to run your organization. As cruel as that sounds, I mean, maybe like, if Aaron Rodgers is getting married, I could see that. Like, if that's the next headline we get with Aaron Rodgers got married overseas. All right, it's still unexcused, but now we understand, right? But we're not going to get that. So it just feels like dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, and this feels dysfunctional.
What if Josh Allen, he wanted to go be with his girlfriend on a movie shoot or something like that? Like as I'm talking, he's on the monitor right now. Allen's speaking earlier today. Put your favorite NFL team, whoever your quarterback is. What would be the legit excuse for them not to be there? Christian Benford yesterday wasn't there. He had a family thing. You're excused.
What's the family thing? Doesn't matter.
It's a family thing.
We're not going to ask. We're not going to press. You need to be with your family. Family first. Cool. That's not what this is. And what was an event, according to Robert Saleh yesterday, that was very important to him. Will Coward, reporting today that it's not an event. Maybe it's an event, but he's overseas.
He's on vacation.
He's on vacation overseas. And he's been prone to do that. Like his last few years in Green Bay, there were plenty of times that Rodgers was absent, vacationing in Hawaii with his starlet girlfriend at the time. I mean, this is who he is.
This all brings it back. I know you could lay out this argument that the Jets, had they just got a wee bit better at the quarterback position last year, they would have been a playoff team, and I would listen to that. And therefore, ... hey, it can't be any worse than last year. Yeah, but what does this do for a locker room? How do you run through a wall for that guy? Hey, you get the...
Especially if his skills are less than advertised. And there's reason to believe that when he does play, if he is healthy and he goes out there, that he's still not going to look like the Aaron Rodgers we remember.
Right, because last year, say, well, that wasn't fair. We didn't see him. No. Go back to 2022.
He wasn't good.
No, Bart Winkler pointing out, like, he was terrible. All the Packers had to do was win at home week 17 against a team that, hey, they were on the upswing, but they weren't the Lions yet. And by the way, the Lions didn't get into the playoffs that year anyway. They had nothing to play for other than screw over the Packers, which they did.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And that was the head coach, and that set the tone. And Aaron Rodgers going out of the tunnel. I don't get what the guy's motivation is. But if I was really serious about winning a Super Bowl and rewriting my legacy, because his legacy right now is, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, but there's always going to be this, but you only won one. By the way, in the weaker conference.
Oh, just
the weaker conference.
Ask any Packer fan. They'll say they wasted his years. They just weren't able to get the most out of him during his time in Green Bay. You should have had multiple championships. You didn't. You had one. Well, it's going to be worth monitoring, paying attention to, and in the end of at the end of the season, we might look back and be like, it didn't have any impact. But can we say the same thing about the Buffalo Bills going through this scenario last year with Stephon Diggs? Did it have zero impact on the season? It did. I think it did.
It certainly didn't at the beginning. You're winning games. There you're beating up on Miami, and Diggs running down the sideline.
It's a chapter in a storyline.
It came back later in the year, and a long touchdown pass when Diggs holds up his fingers to say, yeah.
Yeah, it's a chapter in a storyline.
It will. To me, if I'm a Jet fan, it's like, oh, come on. The personnel is there. This is the team that should win the division. They should. Who has the better roster, Buffalo or the Jets?
No, the Jets have talent.
The Jets. That's the answer.
Yeah. It might be a nothing, but at minimum, it's a chapter in a storyline. The Aaron Rodgers storyline during his time in New York. We get back to Bills minicamp next. They're in Orchard Park practicing. Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Our guest next in the sports bar with his report.
You're listening to the Sports Update.
Bills minicamp continuing. We'll talk to Dan Fates, 13 Wham, and Buffalo Plus coming up next year in the Sports Bar. It's Game 3 tonight in the NBA Finals. Boston up 2-0 on Dallas. Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla on the status of forward Kristaps Porzingis.
Our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken the decision to play out of his hands because the importance of him. And so he's going to do everything he can to play, and then we're going to leave it up to our medical team. And that's really it.
Rochester Red Wings shut out 3-0 against Scranton. Still no word whether we'll see Garrett Cole here in Rochester on rehab on Friday, or the Yankee starter could be pitching in Double-A. On the Major League scoreboard, Twins leading the Rockies 12-8. They're in the 8th. Brewers up on the Jays 5-1 in the 8th. Giants with the 2-0 lead on the Astros in the 4th. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
It's not frustrating at all, It's a long time until we got to put on the uniform and play a game. It's mandatory minicamp. I'm glad guys are here. We're working hard. Guys are making plays, offense and defense, both sides. So we're just having fun out here playing and flying around, trying to get on the same page. Obviously, some new concepts that we got in that it's good to put that on tape and talk through it right now. But, yeah, no frustrations at all. We're playing football.
There's Josh Allen. There's a chance to speak to the media today. Word on the street is yesterday's practice sloppy, a little bit more crisp today for the Buffalo Bills. We welcome in from 13 Wham Sports at BuffaloPlus.com. Dan Fates with his report. Is that accurate to say that yesterday a little bit sloppy, a little bit more precise today out of the Bills offense, Dan?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. Yesterday was rough, and it comes on the heels of, the OTAs not looking super sharp, but again, you're saying it's OTAs. What's the big deal? Today looked much, much better. Again, low bar to clear from the last few days, but we were close enough to hear Joe Brady have some choice words, I'll say, yesterday. And again, it's June. It's June. Nobody overreact, but it was much better today. Josh hit Keon Coleman on a deep ball down the sidelines. He hit KJ Hamler on a deep ball. There was more juice and energy, it felt like, for the first time this offseason, again, at just OTAs and minicamps, that the Bills' offense was sharp.
Yeah, and Dan, I ask you this question because I know the Bills have their rules as far as who's playing with the ones or twos. And again, it's only minicamp, it's only June. But I'll ask it this way: you mentioned Coleman, you mentioned the pass to Hamler. Can you tell if Josh Allen is developing chemistry with any of these new receivers?
Yeah, I think it's working well with Keon. You can see him throwing a lot. And a lot of times, too, what stands out to me, and it's not even just in the routes of like this 11-on-11 or 7-on-7s, it's who he throws to during individual drills. So it's like, who are you seeing? Like, Chase Claypool has really flashed and has made a lot of plays as a wide receiver for this team, but they've all been with balls thrown from Mitch Trubisky. We haven't seen Josh throw to Chase Claypool all that much. We've seen some plays with Keon. I've really liked Keon's strong hands. I think he catches the ball and has really strong hands for a rookie. Obviously, Shakir wasn't there today. We've seen a couple of passes to Curtis Samuel. I think that's a little more underneath that we've seen, but not a ton. Again, today was the first day that things seemed to go well. So besides the Kincaid, the Shakir things that we've seen and kind of expected, nothing really too outstanding. A couple times yesterday, he had some conversations with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, kind of going through, talking with him after plays of, this is what I want to see, this is what I want you to do. So, again, developing it, but nothing has really flashed so far at minicamp or OTAs.
On the defensive side of the ball, Dan, we've heard some pretty good reports out of the play of Kaiir Elam. Talk about his offseason here, because it seems like new coach, new Kaiir.
Yeah, and I also think it's maybe a little bit of John Butler not being there. I don't know how much we want to read into that, but he just seems more confident in himself and what we've seen. Also, he's benefited. I know it's a weird way of saying this, but we used to talk about when Damar Hamlin would get reps, when Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer wouldn't be at OTAs or minicamps because of whatever reason. They're veterans. They don't need to. I think he's benefited from Rasul Douglas not being at OTAs. Him getting reps with the ones has been beneficial. Christian Benford has been excused for family reasons from this minicamp. So he's gotten a lot of run early on in this play. And he had an interception yesterday. He had a nice interception today. And Bobby Babich was fired up. And not only that, Sean McDermott was fired up. Kyer ran the ball all the way back down the field. And as he's going back over to the sidelines, like Sean McDermott kind of cut him off to kind of show him how excited he was. This is a guy that, again, has had to learn what it's like to struggle for the first time, and you're struggling at the NFL level. Like, this is a guy that has, and he's been open about it, and he talked earlier during this offseason of, like, didn't really know how to handle it. And this is a guy who comes in first-round pick, like, oh, he's just going to pencil him in next to Trey White and all these things. And that hasn't been the case. He's flashed at times, but this just looks like, I kind of joked that this is a time to, get off the pot or, kind of make a move here this season. And so far this offseason, he's really flashed in a couple of plays that makes you go, oh, like, that's what Kyer could really do.
Tied to Dan Fates, 13 wham, Buffalo plus. Sticking with the secondary, Dan, because as we're kind of looking ahead, the training camp at Fisher, your early assessment of the safeties here, because it could be Mike Edwards, It could be Taylor Rapp. I've heard, and you've been there, what about Damar Hamlin? Sounds like he's had a pretty good minicamp.
Yeah, I'll say Mike Edwards is kind of behind the eight ball right now, just because, and Sean McDermott's talked about the injuries and all of these things. Like, Mike Edwards, I thought was a guy like, well, you're signing him to be a starter, and between injuries, and then you kind of look back, and Mike Edwards has kind of been a spot starter backup most of his career, and I've never worried about the safety position strictly because of Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich, knowing they can coach up guys. To me, there's been singing praise for Taylor Rapp. Sean McDermott kind of talked yesterday, while there aren't roles defined right now, obviously, we're not at training camp yet, he has kind of assumed a leadership role in his second year in the defense and kind of knowing what to expect now and kind of being able to step up. So he's been a guy that I think has emerged as well as a Damar Hamlin. Like, he's just made plays. We're not talking about how he is mentally and how he is health-wise. Like, now he's just back to playing football. And again, this was a guy that had 90-something tackles when Micah Hyde got injured 2 years ago with the neck. Like, this dude can play football. We just haven't really seen it. And then Cole Bishop's a guy that I think we're going to talk about more as this comes, into training camp and on. But they're just not going to rush these rookies in spots. Like, don't be surprised if you show up to a training camp practice and Keon Coleman is not out there with the first-team offense. They don't necessarily just throw these guys in it. I always remember last year when we were talking to Dalton Kincaid, or talking to Sean McDermott about Dalton Kincaid, and he's like, guys, can we let him put on a helmet first, like, before we start talking about what fantasy stats he could have and all this stuff? So those guys, I think, will come along in time, but I really think that if the practice started tomorrow, if there was a game tomorrow, I really think you'd be looking at Damar and Taylor Rapp as the safeties.
Wow. Dan, you used a word to describe today's offensive performance. You mentioned that they had a little bit more juice. And yeah. I love using the word juice to describe the Bills' offense because it was something that, Josh Allen has always said that Stephon Diggs brought to the Bills' sideline. He brings juice. He brings that juice, that energy. Who's replaced Stephon Diggs in bringing the juice to the Bills' offense?
Ooh, good question. As of right now, I'm not really sure. And if it is one guy, it's probably not a guy you think of because it's probably Mac Hollins. He's the guy that you hear the most. And Dawson Knox talks about him today of, like, he's brought so much energy. We're going to sit down with Mac. I'm going to sit down with Mac Hollins at the start of training camp. He may be the most interesting player I've ever seen. He doesn't wear shoes. He doesn't use utensils. He eats with his hands. Like, he is a strange bird. But he's a guy that I have heard his voice a lot. It's a loud voice. He's a guy that every single pass that he catches in individual drills, he runs all the way to the end zone. He's screaming, I'm so expletive fast. And he's chasing guys. He's pushing guys. He's telling Keon, hey, that's not how we do this. Yesterday, Zach Davidson caught a touchdown in one of the drills. and was twerking as a celebration to it was the one play the offense made. And he came to the sidelines, and all the tight ends are, Dawson and Dalton, and all these guys are high-fiving him. And you got Mac in the sidelines going, don't high-five him. No. Like that, we're not twerking in the end zone. You're not getting applause for that. He's the kind of guy that has been that leadership role. Now that, my caveat is, and Mike and I talked to Justin Schroeder yesterday, a guy a lot of people have interest in, and he talked about how Mac Hollins is teaching him so many things. That's great. Mac Hollins is a veteran. But I always remember when Khalil Shakir got drafted, and he's like, I grew up watching Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is a guy that you can learn a lot from. Mac Hollins, you can learn some intangibles and some things, but the juice part, the intensity, and I know people don't want to talk about Stephon Diggs anymore. I get it. But he was an alpha. He's a guy that they always talked about, like you said, the intensity at which that guy practiced at raised the level of everybody around him at practice. He brought intensity. You sat up straight. Maybe because you were afraid that he was going to be a diva, whatever, but they're still trying to find that role. Josh has been a great leader in that category of franchise quarterback, all those things, but it's a matter of, can he now be the guy that he may have to get in Curtis Samuel's face on the sidelines and say, hey, pick it up, guys. We've seen Tom Brady do it. You see, Phillip Rivers and Peyton Manning and those guys over the years are not afraid to get in their teammates' faces and say, this isn't acceptable. Guys, remember that clip of Peyton Manning and Jeff Saturday getting into it?
Yeah.
And he was like, just snap the damn ball. Those are the intensities that, Diggs never had those kind of outbursts. It was that alpha mentality. Travis Kelce. You saw Patrick Mahomes get into it with wide receivers. That's what we are kind of trying to still figure out. This is a new transition for Josh Allen, and it's also the first time that I don't think there's ever will be more put on Josh's plate from a leadership standpoint, partly because they're all new wide receivers, and Josh holds himself to a very high standard. He now also has to hold his teammates, in my opinion, to that high standard.
Dan, I think you're on to an interesting topic here, because we could talk about the safety and Kyrie Elam and all these other things, but ultimately, if Josh Allen, and we've seen the MVP level of Josh Allen, but if he is actually the MVP of the league, who knows how far this team can actually go. So, great analysis there on Josh and him with Diggs out of the way. But what have you noticed about just kind of the play of Allen here in these 2 days? Because I think it's important that Josh Allen, he's been in the league how many years now, continues to evolve his game.
Yeah, he's tweaking some things with his throwing motion he talked about yesterday. It's not revamping. He talks about, and again, this is probably over most of the audience's head. It's over a lot of my head when he talks about stride and the biomechanics, but he talks about just the fact of last year, whether it was his elbow or his shoulder, his body kind of morphs into, to alleviate pain and to cover up, you kind of drop your arm slot and you throw these things. And he wouldn't make that an excuse. We always talk about excuses and reasons, that there were some bad habits kind of that he picked up because of you're trying to cover up the injury. And maybe that was part of why he was inaccurate at times, maybe at times at the end of the second half of last season. So he's trying to tweak himself, get him back into what he wants. He talks about the ball being a little higher, where all these placements are, because he joked yesterday about the fact of watching himself throw at Wyoming. It's completely different. And he said about golfers, you go through different swings and you evolve and all of these things. And he's like, I watched myself at Wyoming and it's like, ew, that's disgusting. What is that? What is that throwing motion? He's come a long way. He's an anomaly, a guy that has became more accurate from college. He's a unicorn, a guy that he said, well, if you're not accurate in college, you can't be accurate in the NFL. He's changed that. He has completely bucked that trend. So it's impressive to see that. But again, I'm with you, Gene. You got to keep progressing. It's great to be, I think we would all unanimously agree that he's the second best quarterback in the league, but you can't just sit there and be like, well, I'm the second best quarterback, so that's it. And he talks about holding himself to a high standard, all of those things. Better today, but I think he is still trying to figure out this new throwing tweak, as he called it. It's not a revamp, it's a tweak, it's small adjustments. But the one day he was throwing passes with all these sensors around him inside the field house for a half hour after practice. He's really trying to work that through. So, again, Josh is trying to evolve in his game because it may not be deep shots. There's no Gabe Davis right now on this team that's going to take the top off the defense that we can see right away. So maybe it's more accurate. It's where are you going to hit Curtis Samuel so that he can catch and get yards after the catch? Where is it for Khalil Shakir to catch and run? Those kind of things I think he's working on with fine-tuning the mechanics.
Dan, what about his protection? Because that's a storyline this offseason. You're kind of revamping the offensive line. I want to know how McGovern has handled the shift over to center. And I when they drafted Cedric Van Pran-Granger, I thought to myself, that guy could be your center if he shows up in minicamp, if he shows up at training camp. But it sounded like from McDermott's comments yesterday that Connor McGovern's done himself a nice job so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very surprised. We talked to Connor today. I didn't know that, he's a center. He's been a center most of his life. And when he's been moved to guard for miscellaneous reasons, whether it was at Penn State or in Dallas or things like that, he's like, I always wanted to get back to center. He's like, I'm a natural center. And he said last year it was about, while Mitch made all the calls, he was helping Mitch make the calls. So, this isn't a guy that, this is new to him. And you heard Bean talk about it this offseason that, hey, when we signed Connor, we always kind of thought he could play center. Well, that was the light bulb in my head of hey, we're going to sign this guy this year. We're going to let Mitch play, and then we can save some money letting Mitch go, and then we can slide this guy right in kind of thing. That's how I think Bean thought it. Maybe it wasn't the plan A, but it was plan 2A. And so he's a good. I joked around with Connor today asking, what's it been like with Josh with your hands on your butt? Josh had talked about how he got so comfortable with Mitch and how Mitch snaps it. And, you're really close with that center. And he's had him for 5 years. And now it's somebody new. And he's like, yeah, it's reps, getting to know where Josh is comfortable, getting to know all of those things. It's the most basic thing in football that we all take for granted, the snap from the center to the quarterback. But Josh has had the same guy for pretty much 5 years. So Connor has seemed to solidify that line in the center position. The rest we're still kind of figuring out because Spencer Brown has been in and out, and the defensive line looks ahead right now of the offensive line. There's no pads. We're all taking that with a grain of salt. So I can say McGovern has put some of my thoughts where I think we came on right after the draft, and we talked about, hey, there could be a new rookie center. I don't think that's the case as we sit right now.
We're talking to 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus. Dan Fates, our guest. Normally, Sean McDermott, day 3 minicamp. Okay, we got our work in, boys. Everybody go home. Enjoy your summer. Did he do that? Is there still practice tomorrow, Dan?
As of right now, there's practice tomorrow, which is something Mike and Jen and I talked about on Monday. We were like, that would say a lot, and that would be it'd probably be an overreaction. But because there's so many new pieces, because they've lost 5 captains from last year, maybe this is a time when they decide that they'll have the third day. Sean was asked about what he would need to feel accomplished after this and then to have the break before training camp. And he talked about it's also getting the coaches. He talks about health. There's a few guys that are banged up that, whether it's Ray Davis, whether it's, you got Balin Spector's out, Khalil Shakir was nicked, all of these things. But he also talked about there's also new coaches, right? So does Joe Brady want the extra day of practice? Does Bobby Babich want a day of maybe calling plays? What do they need to do that he said that they could have a menu on every player so that coach can go home this offseason when training camp starts, say, I know what this player does well. I know what we got with this player. I know what we're going to do with this player. All of those things, as of right now, it hasn't been canceled. That has been the MO of this team for the last 5 to 6 years, as they have canceled the third day of OTAs. Everybody go home, enjoy your break. As of right now, they're still scheduled to have it tomorrow.
What's Matt Milano's status here? Does it feel like he'll be out in the field come training camp with no restrictions?
That's what it appears that he's trending. I know that's the favorite word that McDermott likes to say, moving in the right direction or trending and things like that. It was good to see him moving around. I got shots of him yesterday with the camera. Seemed to look similar to what we've seen out of a Matt Milano. It's awesome to see him next to Terrell Bernard because for the 4 games that they worked together, they were so dominant early on in that season. But so far, so good. We haven't seen him do any team drills. He's just done individual work. So, but as of right now, he did do the drills again today, which was a good sign. Sean said on Tuesday that Wednesday was going to kind of be up in the air depending on how his body responded to the individual work. So the fact that he was back out in pads and a helmet again today was a good sign. Hasn't been with the team drills yet, but again, I would imagine the favorite word is trending in the right direction.
Dan, what do you think of an NFL quarterback that takes a vacation during mandatory minicamp, or for that matter, the head coach that seems to be mismanaging the situation?
Yeah, I think that's a whole lot of fun. It's so laid back, I mean, it's not like that quarterback had been injured and had talked about how nothing would bother them and that football is the most important thing and that you have to leave like a vice presidential nomination and all of that stuff off to the side. Yeah, and then, obviously one guy that wears green just keeps everything very low-key and everything's going fine in New York, right?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, Dan, because on paper you look at that team and you look at their roster and you can make the argument that's the most talented roster in the AFC East, yet it feels like dysfunction runs rampant within New York, and I would say also somewhat in Miami as well. I mean, is that what the Bills are banking on here in a season where you look at their roster and you talk about that turnover and you think, well, it's not going to be so much the Bills winning as it's going to be everybody else beating themselves?
It's kind of what it feels like, right? And that's part of, we talked about, is it a breath of fresh air without Stephon Diggs? But I also think it goes back to, was the juice worth the squeeze kind of stuff. Like, I've talked about that. I feel like the Bills and Sean McDermott are doubling down on culture. They're choosing culture over talent in a ways, in how they're trying to, as Brandon Beane talks about, transition year and things like that. That's kind of what it feels like, because on paper you're going, I'm not so sure how talented this Bills team is, but you just kind of have this calmness that you have Josh Allen and you have Sean McDermott and his defense, and that you're going to give yourself a puncher's chance to win 10, 11 games every year, because that's just what it's been like, and that hasn't been what you can trust in around the rest of the AFC East. So, I also looked at Hassan Reddick holding out, where you let one of your defensive ends that was an up-and-coming guy walk to bring in Reddick, and now he's not showing up, and you have Rodgers, and where, we all make this, the media is the problem and all this stuff, and then he goes and then doesn't show up to mandatory minicamp. So, yeah, it's dysfunction seems to run rampant in the AFC East, and the Bills are the anomaly to that.
Dan, last one. It's a long year. I'm trying to pick you up now, my friend.
Yeah,
like the Braves would be playing the Brewers today.
On, guys, I really appreciate it. Always,
Dan, when they won the World Series, they were below 500 July 1st. What is the problem once they start hitting and this dumb format? Look, baseball made this format. As long as you start hitting in September, you're going to be fine. I would not want to be playing the Braves come September or October, for that matter, if I'm the Phillies or the Dodgers.
Yeah, I actually talked to Beane about this. He was walking off the field today, and all he said to me was, "We stink." That was his words to me, because Beane's a big Braves fan. Listen, I know you can't try and be somebody you're not as a team, and this team just hasn't faced a ton of adversity over the last 3 years. They just look like a team that does not care. And maybe they've lost their best pitcher, they've lost their best player. They just seem like a team that has no heart right now. And if you follow my Twitter, that's what this team looks like. It's a whole bunch of leadoff triples and then strikeout, pop-up, ground out. And it's infuriating that nobody can slam a bat. Nobody wants to get tossed. Nobody wants to show any emotion. Nobody wants to try and steal a base. Nobody wants to try and manufacture a run. It's just a sad, sad baseball team to watch right now, and I'm not well.
Called them unrecognizable, I think was the word that you used.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough, Dan. Set us up for what you got going here at BuffaloPlus.com. What's on tap?
Yeah, we did a video yesterday, Mike, Jenna, and I. It was kind of what you guys were talking about. We talked about is Josh Allen an alpha? And that can be broken into multiple different things, but we recapped day one of mandatory minicamp, so that's up there right now. And again, it's not questioning whether Josh is a leader, but again, you have alphas and you have leaders. Steph Curry is a leader. Draymond Green is an alpha. Things like that. How does that all shake out? And is that what this Bills team will need this year, or what do they need for Josh leadership-wise? That video is up right now on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Today I recorded a video with Matt Beauvais of WKBW. He's one of good friends, friend of the Buffalo Plus channel. We broke down what we saw today. Kyer Elam's good showing. James Cook, another drop. Tyler Bass missed some field goals.
Oh, boy.
Things like that. That video will all be up tomorrow morning on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.
All right, Dan. Well, let's do this again sometime over the summer here. We'll get your thoughts. And, if you...
Is this what it's like to be a Mets fan? Is this what it's like?
It's I want everybody off the team. Do you want everybody off the Braves right now? I want trade Alonso. What do you want Diaz? Everybody gone. There can't be any worse. I hate. Although, Dan, when you do get the win, I jumped out of my chair on the ending double play Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I was so excited when they beat the Phillies, and I'm like, wow, this is the first time I've actually cheered for my team this year. So there is hope, Dan.
Hope.
Secret to happiness in life, Dan. You know this. Manage expectations, buddy. Manage expectations.
That's the problem, is that my expectations were a World Series, and now it's like, do we want to make the wild? Yeah. That's where I'm at, guys. It's not good. I appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. Take care. Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Spending some time with us and recapping today's practice Bills mandatory minicamp.
I'm guessing we'll have practice tomorrow. If I'm Sean McDermott, why not? Why not? This is a young team where you have all this. You have a schmozzle of receivers right now. What would be the harm of actually saying, guys, we're going to get in some more work tomorrow?
The coaches, too. I mean, you need Brady and you need Babbage to get reps. They need the time with the players. They need to evaluate all these new faces.
Teams value practice. Why would you throw a day away?
I wouldn't. It makes sense, especially if yesterday was as rough as it was reported. If yesterday looked as rough as it was reported, you just earned yourself an extra day of practice. We got to tighten things up before we make this official at training camp, which will be the next step once they close mandatory minicamp here. Dan Fates stopping by. Appreciate him giving us some time. Happy hour next in the sports bar. We'll talk a little bit more about that dysfunction in New York. A legend has passed in the NBA. A Game 3 preview between the Celtics and the Mavericks. A round of shots.
And are we letting Rory back in?
I have thoughts on that as well, Gino. We'll get to all of that in your calls at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the... 9BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills minicamp continuing. Day 2 is in the books. They may be on the field tomorrow. Haven't heard one way or another. Bills announcing today the signing of second-round pick wide receiver Keon Coleman. Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. Boston's up 2-0 on Dallas. Head coach Joe Mazzulla of the Celtics on the status of forward Kristaps Porzingis.
Our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken a decision to play out of his hands because the importance of him. And so he's going to do everything he can to play, and then we're going to leave it up to our medical team. And that's really it.
Rochester Red Wings today had just one hit in their loss, 3-0 to Scranton. Still no word on whether or not Yankees starter Garrett Cole, who is on rehab, will be pitching here in Rochester on Friday or down in AA. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're in the midst of minicamp now, as this is day 2.
Phase 2.
So we'll just kind of keep our eyes and ears on things.
I'm a big believer in wrestlers.
Really?
Mike Danger.
We probably won't have any major headlines or stories to come out of mandatory minicamp. That's the way he wants it, and that's the right way to go about it. Like, we don't want there to be another distraction, and the Bills don't want to deal with that distraction.
Gene Battaglia.
What would be like some of the bigger storylines for camp that maybe we haven't asked you yet, whether that be the offensive line or whether that's, hey, who's going to be your strong safety and your free safety here? There's a lot of questions here that we're going to have to learn here in July.
Tom Brady, you're the real deal.
The NBA is not the NBA without Jerry West. Jerry is the logo of the league.
The finals are back on the floor tonight. Game 3 in Dallas.
Who do you think wins tonight? I think Boston does.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
I will take mahogany teakwood for the win. It's fantastic. That's an elite scent. If you get me a mahogany teakwood scented candle, I'll have that thing lit.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Can't believe this almost slipped through the cracks. Today is June 12th.
Yes, it is. And I pointed this out to Danger. I'm like, and for everybody else, pop quiz. What happened on June 12th?
I know that Judge Reinhold's character in Fast Times at Ridgemont High got promoted to manager of the Quickie Mart on June 12th. You remember the post credits from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? These are the things that cross my feed, that stick in my head.
Okay, I was going to say, like, I don't know who you're following there that would have pointed that out. Now, if the answer is, wait a second, was that the day in June where you had everything happening, Ken Griffey Jr. and you had Arnold Palmer, but you also had the NBA Finals being interrupted by the O.J. Chase? The answer is no. That was June 19th. So that will be this time next week.
Okay.
Today was actually the day 30 years ago today where Ron and Nicole lost their lives.
Where Orenthal allegedly murdered 2 people in cold blood at his Brentwood home. Jack, one of our regulars. I got Twitter working again, folks. X is working again at the Fan Rochester. Danger, did you say juice multiple times? I did, actually.
You did in regards to Stephon Diggs and who's bringing the juice.
But I did ask. You know, we do like to talk about juice here in the sports bar.
You got it, Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We gotta get you dressed, Juice. Juice, a will? Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice, it's AC. Juice! AC's here! Juice, I heard Juice. It's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice, your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice, we're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice, and your Uncle Juice is a good man. He's never gonna stop being the Juice. It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
I guess that answers the question as to whether or not we were going to retire the soundbite of every instance of David Schwimmer playing Robert Kardashian in The People versus O.J. Simpson. Every instance of him saying juice. No, we did not retire it when OJ passed.
Did you not forget? If you forgot for some, wait a second, he died. Like I forgot too. That happened.
Right.
OJ is no longer with us.
Right. OJ's dead, and today marks the anniversary that OJ allegedly murdered 2 people.
Can we just take his name off the Wall of Fame now? He's gone. Who's going to be upset by that?
Yeah. What does new Highmark look like?
Well, that's probably it, right?
That's the transitional
period.
period.
That'll be like you won't see the names out there, and if you do, that'll be egregious. If they bring OJ over there, like, okay, no, come on. You should have just left that at the old stadium.
Jack, thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you for stopping by the Sports Bar. Welcome to Happy Hour on 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app as well. You get all of our audio and our content there. You can search out the Sports Bar wherever you pod. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, and here we are, day 3 in our new studio. We've got the video stream back up, Gino. The video stream is up. You can watch the Sports Bar on YouTube, on Twitch, our channel, The Fan Rochester, if you want to check that out. And while you're there, like and subscribe. Gene's giving a little tour of the studio as we speak. Oh, look at that. You're turning the camera around on me. This is a little weird, but there's the big 55-inch flat screen, a bold step into the year 2004 with our new studio.
Like every sports station in America would have a big flat screen except us there.
All right, let's refocus that on you over there, Gino, so that we can do our viewers a service.
Just wanted to give a little tour there.
Yeah, and I think there's still work that needs to be done here. I think the lighting needs a little bit of work. I think, it needs we need we're old guys. We need as much smoke and mirrors as we can make here in the studio to make us look camera ready. For the people watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and also on Twitch. Well, today's big story. Let's start with the Bills before we get to another layer of dysfunction with the New York Jets. But the Bills, all accounts of today's practice, better than yesterday's practice.
Well, at practice today was our good friend Matt Perino, who joins us every Tuesday, but next Tuesday won't be anything, but he'll be back come football season. Matt Perino excited to tell me, hey, another pick for Kaiir Elam. We asked Dan Fates, 13WM, who was also out there, and he said it was exciting. This one, it's an interception. It's a return. Bobby Babbage jumping up and down, and there was Sean McDermott, one of the first to actually greet the corner. And is this real or not? I can't tell you, but I will tell you this. He was a first-rounder. At some point, he did have the ability to be this guy who could be a starting corner in the NFL, and something kind of went awry. And we could dig in all that, or we could just kind of look ahead to the future. So just from where I sit, we are so early in the process. That's one of the optimistic things. Can Kaiir Elam actually keep this up when we get to St. John?
If he was defeated last season, this is exactly what you need to hear about Kaiir Elam. You need to hear that the coaches are pumping him up, that they're pumping up his tires, that he's making plays in shorts. I mean, that's all good. That all moves things in the right direction. Is he better than Rasul Douglas? Is he better than Christian Benford? Probably not, but we've seen that they like to rotate guys, and they will rotate guys.
Oh, and you do have injuries, and that, like, we could have the debate, what are you most concerned about in terms of depth, wide receiver, the corner. I'd say it's the defensive line. You need an edge rusher, but holy cow, if you had an injury, and maybe part of this too danger is that Christian Benford, now he has an excused absence. It's a family matter, pointing that out there again, but hey, if Benford's not out there, somebody else is getting those reps.
And Kaiir Elam making the most of that opportunity. So the coaching staff excited about that, and that's been kind of one of the storylines there from Bills minicamp, the resurgence of Kaiir Elam. Talk about a little bit about the practice yesterday as the offense is trying to get acclimated, a lot of new faces in new places, new faces in general. Josh Allen earlier today asked about whether or not there's any frustration with the lack of production in practice.
It's not frustrating at all. It's a long time until we got to put on the uniform and play a game. It's mandatory minicamp. I'm glad guys are here. We're working hard. Guys are making plays, offense and defense, both sides. So we're just having fun out here playing and flying around, trying to get on the same page. Obviously, some new concepts that we got in that it's good to put that on tape and talk through it right now. But yeah, no frustrations at all. We're playing football.
Look, he's not lying.
No, the best reaction to have to mandatory minicamp is probably no reaction, but we are going to tell you what we hear is happening there in Orchard Park. And from what we heard yesterday, it wasn't great. Better today. But maybe that third day that they normally take off is better served actually conducting a practice.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of them getting out there. You only get so many of these practices. Why would you want to throw one away? Hey, the Bills were this veteran team. You want to kind of treat with kid gloves, and you had coordinators who were returning for years, and Brian Dable and Leslie Frazier, and then not much of a transition between Brian Dable because of Ken Dorsey, and well, now you have two green coordinators, although we think very highly of, and this schmozzle of wide receivers and an offensive line that's unsettled and safety. You have a lot of new pieces. Why wouldn't you want to work out another day? I know you want to send all the guys home and happy and, hey, we love you boys, but, hey, this is a profession. You want to win football games? I think being out there on Thursday will help.
Now, what may not help is having your franchise quarterback missing mandatory minicamp with an unexcused absence. I mean, it might not hurt, but it doesn't help, right? Like, you could say, it's not going to impact the regular season. And I'd say, yeah, you're probably right. But it doesn't help right now if you're the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers is on vacation.
He's on vacation. Coward reporting it, and it's going to come out. And Connor Hughes, like, well, why SNY? Well, where's he on vacation? We want to know more. Like, what would be so important to take your vacation now? No, can't say for security. I didn't know that, like, going overseas is any different than here if you're an NFL quarterback for security.
He doesn't want the paparazzi knowing or filming him. We've seen this movie
Are you
before.
kidding me? Everybody has a phone. Like, if somebody will get him, film him, contact TMZ, and, hey, he's on the French Riviera or whatever.
That is the thing that is curious about this, is that nobody has done that yet, that we haven't found him, that nobody knows exactly where he is. Do they do darkness retreats in Europe? I'm serious. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever
he's on vacation.
Drug of choice. Danger, to me, this story isn't as much about Aaron Rodgers as it's about you hired a head coach that doesn't know how to manage people. When we get to the cycle next offseason where you're interviewing coaches, it'll be the hot offensive coordinator and the grand schemer and whatever, but really, can you manage people? And he wasn't an offensive coordinator, but boy, he would play well on camera, and he would call a blitz on third down, and he had talent. Talking about Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh has no idea how to manage Aaron Rodgers. All he had to do was say, hey, Aaron wanted to go. We excused him, but by rule, there would be a fine. That's it. But to say it's unexcused, all the radar going up there.
Yeah. The Jets feeling a little bit about what the Bills felt last year with the Stephon Diggs. That was a slip-up by McDermott. I think if you asked McDermott for a mulligan, he would like to say that again differently. Like, he's not here. Is it excused? Is it unexcused? I mean, he basically lied when he said he's not here. No, he is there, and Diggs called him out. Now, we haven't heard from Rodgers. Rodgers hasn't said anything or spoken on the matter, and the New York newspapers are absolutely going berserk, and the headlines are crushing him. He's being a hypocrite. He's saying they rightfully are crushing him. He says one thing 1 minute, the next minute, I'm not going to show up to mandatory minicamp. Now, you mentioned the reporter from SNY, who is kind of like the guy that gets all the inside scoop from the Jets. And so he put out earlier that Rodgers planned this trip while he was still rehabbing. The Jets have known about it from the moment there was an overlap with the release of the minicamp schedule. Rodgers is unexcused because you can't excuse a trip, but it's not a contract dispute like Hassan Reddick. Semantics. There's no unrest inside the building, according to this report. The Jets don't think it's a big deal. Not sure why the world is reacting differently. Rodgers missing these 2 days after being at every voluntary workout the last 2 years will have zero impact on what the Jets/Rodgers accomplish this coming season.
If I'm Connor Hughes, I will do whatever the Jets put out. Give me a break. There's no problem.
I don't think this makes things better for the Jets putting this out there.
No, like how is this playing in the locker room? If I'm Sauce Gardner, I'm any of the players, Garrett Wilson, leaders on this team,
stars,
that guys that are the face of the franchise, shouldn't be the 40-year-old quarterback, and I'm out there working in June, and my quarterback decides to go on vacation. You don't even give me that stuff that, well, he was here all along last year. No, he wasn't. He flew in on game day and stayed out in front of the cameras. Again, this is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has a different set of rules. So if you want to manage Aaron Rodgers differently, you've got to say he's got his set of rules, and for everybody else, sorry, you have to be here.
What do you think's more likely? Jets make the postseason, or Jets clean house at the end of the season and start over again?
That is a great question. It's a fantastic question.
Right now, you could see either scenario playing out. I could, with the talent on this roster, with the Bills, their words, right? They call it like a retooling year. Like they're retooling. There's some vulnerability in the East, and the Jets have talent.
We've pulled up. I could pull up the Jets schedule for you, but between the opener,
soft early.
It is very soft. You get the Bills on the 14th, and then you get Houston Halloween weekend. There is not another quarterback that should beat the Jets in between. That is going to be the story, is that the Jets are going out. But can they finish strong? And ultimately, if you say, Chris Russo, life on the line, which one am I picking here? I would pick on the 40-year-old quarterback to actually kind of fall apart. And then you're telling me that Tyrod's going to lead this team? I'll at least give them that. They recognize, what do we have at backup? Who's available? Oh, Tyrod. Come on in, Tyrod.
Across the hall.
Yeah, Tyrod can lead you for a little bit, but ultimately, we know you're not going anywhere with Tyrod.
Yeah, Sal's not a good coach. This is a problem.
Yeah.
He's had moments where he looks like the deer in the headlights, where he looks shell-shocked. And not because the New York media has been unfair or rough with him. They haven't. Nobody's asked him. Nobody's pressed him on where Rodgers is. I mean, you get the report that he's on vacation from a talk show host, for crying out loud. He's got a source that he finds very credible, and he's not going to out his source, but his source is, he's on vacation. Oh, really? He's on vacation? Nobody's talking about that.
Wouldn't that be funny if his source is actually somebody in the Jets organization? Because that's how some of this stuff goes.
And knowing that that's out there now, Salah's head is exploding, because nothing that he hates more than people talking that you can't. The Jets have never been able to plug all the holes, all the leaks that they have. Even this report from the SNY guy probably drives Salah crazy. Like, what are we doing? Why are we commenting on this? Move on. It's a lot of talent, but it's a dysfunctional organization, Gino. And man, it feels like if they don't get it done this year, they are going to clean house and they're going to start over again. Bill Belichick is out there.
Yeah. No. He's going to Dallas.
Right. If he goes anywhere.
Yeah. And where I come down on this, we're mismanaging Salah, but I would just ask Aaron Rodgers, how bad do you want this? How bad?
But this isn't new. This is what he did when he was in Green Bay. How many years did we see Rodgers?
How many years did, and it was always, they didn't get me the receivers, blah, blah, blah. You were in the weaker conference, the one that didn't have Tom Brady. And you never faced Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. How's that even possible? Like, Packer fans have to figure, my gosh, we wasted more than a decade. And look, Packer fans, you have Jordan Love. I think your team is young and exciting. I feel happy for you. And that you just kind of rid yourself of this problem where I was thinking, Danger, all along, boy, the Jets, to your point, maybe the Bills aren't it. You really going to, let me turn around and ask you this question. Do the Jets make the playoffs? Are they more likely to make the playoffs or clean house?
I think they're going to clean house. I think dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And when you signed Aaron Rodgers, you knew what you were getting. yes, you got a guy that's shown up to all of the voluntary stuff, and yes, he's there with the team while he's rehabbing on game day. You got a guy who's saying all the right things around his team, but still the same guy. He hasn't changed.
Who does he answer to?
Who holds Rodgers accountable? Who does Rodgers report to? He didn't report to anybody.
No, the owner. We don't talk about Woody Johnson because there's owners that are worse in this league. Woody Johnson is a jock sniffer.
He's a weirdo.
Woody Johnson, I need to be in Taylor Swift's suite to say hello. Woody Johnson flying. I understand, like, hey, you want to recruit a quarterback to come to your team, but is he starstruck and like Aaron can kind of do whatever he wants? Because I tell you what, like if the coach can't handle it and the GM can't handle it, does the owner actually roll up his sleeve?
Precedence is a funny thing. Like if you're being told no because of precedence, it stings. You don't like hearing it, but it does create order. It does create rank. And if you're Rodgers and you have a different set of rules, you've set a precedent now that other people in the organization can look at and be like, what if he can do that, why can't I?
Yeah, well, okay. So say Sauce Gardner, you know what? Back home, I've got this charity event. It conflicts with mandatory minicamp. I'm sorry.
You're gonna fine me for raising money? I'm helping kids in the community. That's gonna
well,
really?
and what's gonna happen next when Rodgers finally does speak? He will spin it in such a way where he was doing something good and they knew about this and wish it wasn't framed that way.
It wasn't my fault. It's never his fault. I mean, no, I communicated this. It'll make the Jets look bad again. There's nothing good about this. The only way that I could see that the Jets could have saved face, knowing what we know, that they knew about this, move your practice.
Yes.
Move your practice. Lots of teams were practicing last week. Move it up a week. Aaron, you know what? We don't want to stop you from going on vacation. You want to travel? You should travel. You've been great. Take the time. But knowing what we know, we're going to move minicamp to a week prior. And it's mandatory. Done. Why didn't anybody do that? Because nobody is holding that guy accountable. Aaron Rodgers answers to Aaron Rodgers. End of story. And it's got to drive Salah crazy because you're the head coach and you want – those guys are control freaks. I mean, we see Sean McDermott firsthand. We know how much of a control freak he is. That's every head coach in the NFL. Most of them, I should say. And you know Salah's one of those guys. Like, are you kidding me? I got to deal with this?
Well, and then this is what you signed up for. All he had to do is say it's excuse and lie.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying, suggesting lie.
You know what else they could have done? They could have drafted a better quarterback than Zach Wilson, and then we wouldn't be having this conversation altogether. I know that's the big what-if game, but this is the same regime that drafted Zach Wilson number 2 overall, right?
Yeah.
It was Salah and Douglas and Johnson. Yeah, I don't have any sympathy. Zero sympathy. Even though Rodgers is running amok, even though Rodgers doesn't hold him, nobody can hold him accountable. It's the Jets, man. Again, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things.
We had Fitzy Stevens. He is WEEI. He also has a side gig where he is like the in-game host for New England Patriot football. And he is a funny dude. And he's hosting the red carpet, which is actually going to start at 5:30. Literally tonight in Foxborough, Danger, they have a red carpet where all these dignitaries, and apparently this is going to be some sort of star-studded lineup with performers and singers and whatnot. Not your typical retirement ceremony, number 12, retiring the number, I should say, for Tom Brady. But I just think it's kind of hilarious that the Patriots went through all this on a night where the attention's going to be divided if you're a Boston sports fan.
Yeah, Celtics can go up 3-0 on Dallas and put an end to it, really. I mean, you're not coming back from 3-0. And I like Boston tonight. I really think that Luka's hurt. And he's not 100%. He's going to struggle. Luka himself won't struggle. Luka will be Luka. He'll get his.
He'll take a shot like he did game 2.
Yeah, he'll get his. He'll do what he does. but it's him and nobody else, and nobody has an answer for the depth that Boston has. They're just there's Porzingis isn't going to play. Okay, we'll be fine. We were fine the first 9 games of the postseason without him. We'll be fine without him. I think that series is over. It feels like it's over. But if Dallas does turn it around and win one tonight, Fitzy wanted to say gentleman's sweep, right? Celtics in 5. I would listen to that. And I love that he said, no, you know what? Adam Silver should have moved the NBA Finals. We shouldn't have moved Tom Brady's ceremony.
Hey, we've known about this for how long?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We've had this on the books for a while. We'll get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, talking more about the NBA Finals, it's not complicated what Dallas needs to do. Just kind of a couple stats here about Dallas's performance in games 1 and 2. And if they figure this out, maybe, that gentleman's sweep, maybe Dallas has a chance here tonight as they go back home. An update on Alexander Barkov, the superstar for the Florida Panthers, as Game 3 tomorrow night in the Stanley Cup Final. Those stories and more.
All right, you can join us for last call as well as we get to that here before 6 o'clock, 585-866-4FAN, our phone number, 866-4326.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
FanDuel wants you to join in on all the carnage, all the crazy shots, and all the major action this week at Pinehurst. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, all customers get a profit boost every round of the U.S. Major. That means you can boost your outright winners, your longest drive bets, and so much more. Plus, bet on finishing position and get paid in full for ties. You won't see any other sportsbook doing that. Who do you like? Scotty? Bryson DeChambeau? He who shall not be named? Don't worry. Go to FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Get started to take advantage of your profit boost every round at Pinehurst. That's FanDuel.com/Mike. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
Hi, I'm PJ Vogt, here to tell you about my podcast called Search Engine, voted one of the best new podcasts by Time Magazine, Vogue, and The Economist. We answer fascinating questions about business, tech, and history. Questions like, who should be in charge of artificial intelligence? Or, how did ADHD medication get so popular so fast? Listen and follow Search Engine with PJ Vogt and Odyssey Podcast. Available now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Come celebrate the Vision Class of 2024. Now's your chance to graduate to a brand new vehicle, like the new 2024 Elantra SE. Lease it for just $229 a month for 36 months, just $229. Plus, every Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and Hyundai Assurance. Call 1-888-747-0516 or go to HyundaiWebster.com. Then follow your heart to save. Vision Hyundai in Henrietta, Webster, and Canandaigua.
Let's talk about the kind of leftovers everyone loves. 2023 model year John Deere leftovers from Lampro. Save a ton of cash on a new John Deere tractor that'll help you get caught up on that to-do list in no time. Shop your local Lampro Equipment store or online at lamproequipment.com.
I'm William Mattar. Big truck crashes often result in serious injuries or death. After a big truck crash, call William Mattar, the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. After a serious truck crash, call us right away so our immediate response team can preserve evidence while you focus on your family. Truck crash? Call William Mattar, 585-444-4444, West Main Street, Rochester.
Hi, I'm Tom Wall's team member, Kathy. I've worked in Avon for over 25 years. I don't know how many thousands of ground steaks I've pressed, how many batches of root beer I've made, or how many smiles have come my way when I handed out an ice cream cone. Tom Walls.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Is switching your wireless service to Total by Verizon easy? Now you can get 50% off any unlimited data phone plan. That's one line for only $25 a month, and you keep the phone you love. Hurry, this is a limited time offer. So find a store or switch suavemente at totalbyverizon.com. Offer ends July 31st, 2024. Promise update.
Sports Update.
Day 2 of Bills minicamp continuing. For now, practice is on Thursday. The Bills announcing today the signing a second-round pick, wide receiver Keon Coleman. Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. Boston up 2 games to none in the Dallas Mavericks. Mavs head coach Jason Kidd.
Just focusing on game 3. We felt there in game 2 we had opportunities that we just let get away from us. And so for us at home, protecting home court, but the cliche is role players play better at home, so we'll see.
Rochester Red Wings had just one hit today in their 3-0 loss to Scranton. Still no word on whether or not Yankee starter Garrett Cole on rehab will be pitching here in Rochester on Friday or down in AA. Giants are up in the Astros 5-3. They're in the top of the 8th. Finals from today in the majors. Brewers over the Blue Jays 5-4. Twins 17-9 over the Rockies. Team Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Nothing's going to stop me unless, I'm told not to or not allowed to play. So that's the only reason I will not be out there. But, I've been through some stuff in my career, and obviously this is a rough patch, coming back and having something happen right away again. It's tough, it's very... just a tough moment right now, but feeling pretty good. Mind is good.
This is Kristaps Porzingis. And you heard Joel Mazzulla earlier mention that it's not going to be up to the player. It's not going to be up to the coaches. It's going to be up to the medical staff. They're not going to put him at risk if they can avoid it. But it sure sounds like he wants to go. Game 3 tonight in Dallas.
It is not complicated, Danger, how Dallas can get back into the series. Listen to this stat. On open three-point attempts in this series, players on the Dallas Mavericks that are not named Luka, they're 4 for 29. And that includes a big fat 0 from Kyrie Irving, who's yet to hit a 3 in this series. Oh, another factor here, turnovers. Dallas committing 15 in Game 2, which Boston converting into 21 points. Boston, conversely, 10 turnovers for 12 points for Dallas. That's a 9-point differential,
9 times,
which actually ended up being the margin. Boston looking to wrap this up quick. A win tonight would put them 1 win away from the championship. And as we point out, no team has ever come back in any series from 3-0 in the NBA. Celtics and Mavs, 8:30 on ABC.
Watch Luka tonight and see if defensively he's better than he was in Game 2. The montage of Luka not getting back and getting blown by in Game 2 was staggering. And look, he's not 100%. He's not well. He's not putting himself at risk. He's not putting himself in harm's way, and he's getting blown by these Celtics. So that's another thing to kind of keep an eye on here. We know Luka's going to go. Whether or not Porzingis goes, I don't think really matters. I think it's Celtics tonight in Dallas.
The man they called the logo, because he literally was the logo of the NBA. They did the silhouette of him. Passing away today. Jerry West made it in the Hall of Fame 3 different ways: as a player, an executive, also a member of the 1960 Olympic team. He led the Lakers on the court to the finals 9 times.
9 times.
Winning it once, though, in 1972. He built the Showtime Lakers, winning titles. And then rebuilt the whole thing with Kobe and Shaq. He stayed on for only the first title in 2000. Jerry West was 86.
He'll be missed.
He, I think the portrayal of him in Showtime, I know you didn't see that, Winning Time, not fair. They made him look like he had mental health issues.
I will add it to the list.
Florida Panthers forward Alexander Barkov was a full participant in practice this morning, and he's traveling with the team to Edmonton. They're in flight right now. Panthers head coach Paul Maurice says the final decision will come shortly. Come on. You know he's playing.
Right.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Barkov won the Selke Award for Best Defensive Forward twice in his career. Game 3 tomorrow night. Panthers up 2-0 on Edmonton.
I don't want to say that this series is over. It feels like this series is over. I got to see Edmonton at home and see what their reaction is.
How many? They are 35 minutes into the game, and Edmonton had 4 shots. Florida is just so buttoned up.
And so why do you think they went after Barkov at the end of that game? That's the difference. That guy made Evan Rodriguez a goal scorer twice in game 2. I mean, come on. He's exceptional.
Yankee manager Aaron Boone said, yes, there's going to be another rehab start for Garrett Cole in the minors this Friday. He didn't know if it's going to be in Double-A or Triple-A. Come on, he knows. What's he waiting for? The forecast. Now, there's things online, but nobody's reporting this officially, so we won't. It's in Triple-A. Could be a really special night coming up Friday in Rochester, Danger.
Looking forward to that.
Wings today, 1 hit. That's it. 1 lousy hit.
Well, let's hope for a better performance on Friday, if it indeed.
I just quoted Major League there.
1 hit?
1 hit. That's it. 1. Actually, 1 goddamn. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Finally, this is kind of sad. Sad and true. Denver Bronco head coach Sean Payton had surgery. What for? To remove cataracts. It got so bad last season. He admitted this. He looked at his play sheet, and he accidentally called the wrong play.
I mean, who amongst us hasn't?
The average age for cataract surgery in the United States is 72, but they can develop as young as the early 40s. Sean Payton right now is 60.
How's your eye health, Gino? How you feeling?
I'm fine. Other than I have to wear these things.
Are those your readers?
Those are readers,
not prescription. Those are readers. See, how's your eye health? You didn't even push the button for the monitor, so that
I didn't even know. Well, everything is kind of different here. I look over and I'm like, oh, that's. I'm sorry, I didn't have danger on camera.
I'm challenged, man. I'm telling you, these readers, I can't see anything, and we're in our new studio here, and the setup is a little bit different. The monitors are a little bit closer to me than they were before, and because they're a little bit closer to me, I struggle a little bit.
Well, that's why I have to laugh. Like anybody, well, why didn't Tom Brady play into his 50s? I'll give you an example. And I love the guy as a player, Ichiro. Ichiro would still be playing. Why he didn't, it was his eyes. Your eyesight is such a needed thing, well, whatever it is. And funny hearing about, Josh Allen working on some of these things. But, hey, that's not something you can easily fix once you get past 40.
Yeah, that does catch up with you. And cataracts, no joke. What did my eye doctor tell me? Ocular hypertension. Can you have high blood pressure in your eyes? The answer is yes.
Wow.
Your boy has ocular hypertension. Now, 2020, I can see fine, but I need those readers. And then I've got this underlying ocular hypertension, which I don't know if that's a precursor to cataracts, but at minimum, it gets me into the eye doctor once a year for a checkup.
Yeah. Which looks better, this or this? Neither one.
Yeah, sorry, doctor. That's
yeah.
the good Dr. Ryan who's diagnosed your boy with ocular hypertension, and I'm guessing when I meet with him next month, he'll be saying, yeah, maybe up the prescription there on the readers. You're probably a 2.0 at this point. Getting old sucks. Getting old sucks. We get to a last call next in the Sports Bar at 585-866-4FAN. You can pull up a stool and join us, 866-4326. I noticed there was a story absent from Shots. It was a story that a lot of people were asking us about.
I thought I left it out purposely because, I think I need a little more time to talk about this.
All right, we'll get to the story of the reconciliation of Rochester royalty. That's next in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
And Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, so this was a lead story last week. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? Probably 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago was before the Canadian Open. Yeah.
Right. And y'all want to know because of our reaction to the story from a couple of weeks ago of Rory and Erica splitting up. You can't file for divorce from Rochester royalty. We took you in. You're one of our brothers. We've claimed you as ours.
We defended you against the Saudis.
That's
we
right.
stood up for you.
That's right. And then this happens.
You turn around and then you stab Rochester royalty in the back.
Well,
like
I feel like our reaction, now aligns us with this story. And I would say normally this isn't a big news story or something we should be talking a ton about, but I started getting tweets from people last night.
Which I appreciate everybody who reaches out to us. Hey, saw that.
UPS driver Josh, one of our regulars earlier this afternoon, hitting us up on X. Are you guys willing to accept Rory back into Rochester royalty since he's rescinded his decision to divorce? Josh, the answer is no.
Nope.
The answer is no.
No, we're not out to get Rory, and we certainly want him to be a good dad and a good husband and everything else, but I'm not pulling for Rory anymore. I'm sorry. Oh, forgive and forget. Come on. I'm not a priest, all right? Yeah.
By the way, for anybody that wants to say forgive and forget, I can tell you, Erica is going to forgive, but she ain't ever going to forget.
How could she?
She ain't ever going to forget.
How she get every time hey, and welcome to the PGA Championship, and we go downstairs to Amanda. Look, that's the other part of the story. Yeah. It is my opinion, I can still call her Amanda the homewrecker.
I just think that her credibility is already shot, and if their little tryst became public and it was known that that was the reason why they filed for divorce, her career would be over. Rory would probably be out millions. And who knows what the terms of the prenup were, but there was a prenup. So for the sake of Poppy, I'm happy, and I hope that they make it work. I'm glad that they're back together because I like the idea of mom and dad being there for Poppy. But as somebody who, as a young adult, got busted cheating, there's guilt and shame that goes with it, coupled with, in Rory's case, a wife who we'll never forget. Yeah, that's enough punishment. We're not accepting him back in.
We don't have to.
No.
No. I again, now that the story is kind of reaching a conclusion, I think it's hilarious that where did the story come from? Was it TMZ? Was it People Magazine? It was somebody from the Live Tour, or maybe the Live Tour itself. But it was a Live Tour news account that put that out.
Conspiracy time. What if Amanda Balionis is on the payroll for Live? Secretly on the payroll for Live. What if she's a plant? That tryst was so good, Rory was going to leave his wife and kid? That's how good it was? She could be a paid assassin, dude.
Like a spy.
Yeah. Liv could have put her on the payroll. This was a hit job. It was so good, he was going to leave his wife and kid.
Liv is like the mop.
Yeah.
We're going. Hey, you want to come after us? We're going to come back at you.
We got pictures of you.
Pictures.
And we know what to do with them. And she's an assassin. Ooh, juicy. He's not back in. No. The answer is no. We're not accepting him in as Rochester royalty. We love Erica. She's one of us. We'll always have good things to say about Erica. That's a tough spot for her. She's going to have to forgive, but she will never forget.
I think we're overdue for a PGA Championship major announcement in the year 2033 at Oak Hill. But I would assume that would be right at the tail end of Rory's career, and if he's out there, no, I'm not pulling for him.
He's not going to have the following that he got last year.
No, he was literally like, that's Rochester's own. No, he's not. Yeah. No.
Tomorrow, we have a future major leaguer joining us in the sports.
This is exciting. Yeah. James Wood. I don't know if his middle initial is F, but it sounds like James effing Wood.
Yeah, that's
Rochester big. Red Wing will be joining us in the sports bar tomorrow. I'm excited about that. We'll also get a day 3 mini camp report for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe Sean McDermott calls it off. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking that I'll actually be on the field tomorrow.
Or if they don't practice, it's some kind of team building event for day 3.
That could be it, where they're rope climbing or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. If you missed Dan Fate's account of day 2 of practice at mandatory minicamp, we've got that up and available for you wherever you get your podcasts. We also talked to Fitzy from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WEEI in Boston. He joined us in the 3 o'clock hour, big Tom Brady celebration at Foxborough, and Fitzy's on the red carpet, a little peek behind the curtain there. Always good catching up with Fitzy. He's a character. If you missed either conversation, you can go in the free to download Odyssey app and search out the Sports Bar or the Fan Rochester to get our work. You can also get it wherever you pod. And we also thank you for checking out the video stream back after a 2-day hiatus in our new digs, our new studio. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We're also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. Back tomorrow, starting at 3, brand new episode of the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for making us part of your everyday routine. We'll get the JR Sport Brief on next on The Fan Rochester.